Chapter 1173. Countless hair-thin strands of sword chi pierced through this space, forming a net that no one could escape from. Secret art, silver star. An intense gust of wind swept through the dark passage. The net of light scattered in the wind, slicing through everything in its path. Severed hands, heads, chests, and organs were scattered all over the place. The stiffened cultivators were wiped out in large numbers. But the cultivators who were still alive didn't move at all. They coldly stood there, staring at the flying sword with a strange expression on their faces. So it was the Huang Quan Devil King who had never appeared before. They spoke in unison. It was as if a certain entity was borrowing the mouths of all the cultivators to speak to Gu Shan. A second later, all the corpses that were killed were sent flying back to the Red Gate and were silently sucked in. An eerie red glow manifested on the gate. Creak! The gate slowly opened. A cold gust of wind blew. Hundreds of armored skeletons with all kinds of weapons in their hands flew out from the door. The skeletons were enveloped in flames as they flew down towards Gu Shan. Huang Quan Devil Soldiers. The cultivators that were killed by Gu Shan in a single strike were directly reincarnated as Huang Quan Devil Soldiers through this red gate. The remaining cultivators smirked eerily and spoke in unison. The legends say that the Huang Quan Devil King can control all dead. I don't really believe that. Come, let me see what you're made of. Gu Shan didn't seem to hear them at all and unleashed a giant white crescent sword phantom. All the Wraith soldiers roared in unison, didn't try to dodge, and simply charged towards the sword phantom. The sword phantom struck their bodies, giving off a cacophony of clashing noises. As the Wraith soldiers were slowed down by the sword phantom, they couldn't help but exude energy. In a split second, they turned into shadows. The giant sword phantom pierced through their bodies and flew away. The cultivators triumphantly spoke. Wraith soldiers are born with the ability to pierce through anything in this world. I'd like to see how you deal with that. As soon as they said so, Gu Shan and the sword in his hand suddenly disappeared. He appeared in a place where cultivators were densely packed. Courting death, the cultivators shouted. Ah! Gu Shan suddenly let out a violent cry. A strong storm erupted from his body, turning into visible black air currents that spread in all directions. The power of magic dragon's bloodline. In the past, in order to prevent this domineering power from infecting others, Gu Shan had always used the Cloak of Silence to conceal her aura. After seeing Su Share's injuries, Gu Shan was so angry that she didn't want to care about anything else. Ever since he activated the world sacrifice, the power of the magic dragon had been completely subdued and was slowly being converted into his own power. Gu Shan could already wield this power. Streams of black air drilled into the bodies of the cultivators, causing them to tremble uncontrollably. The various spells in their hands were instantly extinguished. The overbearing power of the magic dragon was eroding them and changing them. This was the most tyrannical power of the magic dragon. This was the most powerful soul artifact of the bygone era humans. Neither Gu Shan nor the strongest combatant of the bygone era had a good way to deal with the erosion of this power, so they could only rely on the living being's sacrificial dance to slowly dispel it. How could these cultivators from another world know how to deal with it? Their gazes slowly regained clarity, but very quickly they couldn't withstand this power and screamed in pain. Perhaps after a period of suffering, they would be able to obtain the seeds of the magic dragon's power, greatly increasing their cultivation speed, developing their various abilities, and becoming stronger. But they had no future. Die! Gu Shan spat out a single word. A dazzling brilliance revolved, and countless sword shadows flew out from the long sword, shooting out like lightning. Over 1,000 cultivators who were still alive were all killed. The countless sword images turned into tiny streams of light that flew back into Gu Shan's body. Arc, dash. Gu Shan closed her eyes and uttered an uncontrollable moan of pain. As soon as these cultivators became magic dragon's bloodkin, he killed them all. So their spirit energy, soul points, and blood essence were all absorbed by Guqing Shan. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god. UI, frowny face, you've killed a total of 1,968 cultivators. As you've used the erosive power of Magic Dragon's Bloodkin, according to the laws of the Magic Dragon Soul artifact, all of their powers belong to you. You've obtained 800,000 soul points. All other types of powers have begun to fuse with Magic Dragon's power, which will continue to increase your strength for the next few days. After skimming through everything, Guqing Shan looked down. The Huang Quan hellspawns were quickly approaching, but compared to Ground Shrink, they were too slow. No, those are all my powers. An angry voice resounded from the Red Gate. Just as Guqing Shan saw it just now, it needed to absorb everything from the cultivators in order to turn them into hellspawns. Guqing Shan only needed one probing strike to use the Magic Dragon's power to erode all the cultivators and convert them into his own power. His change of tactics was so quick that the Red Gate couldn't even react in time. And now, the Red Gate couldn't absorb those powers anymore. Souls returned to Huang Quan. A series of buzzing noises came from the Red Gate. The only things left were the cultivators' souls. Hundreds of thousands of souls hurriedly flew towards the Red Gate. They didn't even know how they died just now, so they naturally wanted to run away from Guqing Shan as fast as they could. Guqing Shan silently watched this and muttered, "Since you dare to harm my people, don't even think about entering Huang Quan." He drew the Devil King Warden Rod. All the souls froze in the void of space, unable to move a single inch. The dead must obey the Devil King of Huang Quan's orders. Otherwise, their souls would be completely destroyed. The Red Gate roared with a deafening roar. "Devil King, you dare to act so brazenly. I, the Devil Gate's god, shall kill you today." The void of space trembled intensely. The light of the secret passage was becoming faint and illusory. The entire world was turning illusory, while another world was slowly manifesting itself. Divine skill, cycle of life and death. Dark clouds filled the sky. Ghostly presence filled the air. Above the yellow river, there was a rugged and grotesquely shaped pass. The Red Gate stood at this pass, giving off a blinding red glow. "Come, all of you enter Huang Quan, Devil King. You and your people shall be trapped here by me, unable to escape for the rest of your life." Countless deities and monsters were flying towards them from both near and far. As he looked down, Su Sher, Haze Den, and the others had also been pulled into this world shadow. The Earth Sword's voice suddenly came. "Guqing Shan, quickly think of something. This is the shadow of two worlds alternating. Once this technique is completed, the world's shadow will become real, and we'll be able to stay in this world forever," Guqing Shan replied without changing her expression. "I can see that, but I have to say, it dares to tell me to return to Huang Quan." The single-horned skull's eye sockets on the scepter gave off a terrifying red glow. Guqing Shan shouted in a low voice, "I don't care who you are, wake up right now. Our war is about to begin." Dead essence. Using this power, the Devil King of Huang Quan was able to communicate with all dead beings across space, as well as instantly awaken any slumbering dead. Immediately, all the dead who were slumbering in the 18 layers of hell within this fragment of Huang Quan opened their eyes. In the blink of an eye, they understood what had happened. After countless years, the ruler of hell had finally appeared. Guqing Shan abruptly swung the Devil King Warden Rod and angrily shouted, "Come, no matter who you were once ruled by, no matter what kind of karma you had, from this moment onwards, hell is under my control." Prison realm collapsed. This was the divine power needed to open the 18 layers of hell. Countless dead began to appear in the Yellow Springs. Using the Devil King Warden Rod's power, they were released from the collapsing hell. "If anyone dares to stop me," Guqing Shan muttered. The scepter gave off an endless red glow, causing the entire world of Huang Quan to tremble. Next to the Grand Tai Wei Mountain, by the Forgetting River, the earth began to tremble intensely. Samsara Crusade. Hell and Huang Quan began to separate. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The entire 18 layers of hell were being separated from the depths of Huang Quan. Billions of dead people roared in unison. Long live the Devil King! No one could stop the King of Hell. At the same time, the panicked voices of countless deities resounded at the same time. Quickly dispel the reincarnation of life and death. Chapter 1174. The World of Huang Quan. The earth shook intensely as deep cracks appeared on the ground. The 18 layers of hell once again reappeared. Countless dead people appeared one after another. On the other side, numerous attacks came from all directions, wanting to kill Gu Qingshan, who was still hovering in the air. Gu Qingshan held the Devil King Warden rod in his hand, indifferently standing still. Countless dead people leapt into the air, protecting him from all directions. They were all powerful cultivators of the cultivation world, but because of their sins, they couldn't help but fall into hell. To be able to commit such heinous crimes in the cultivation world, they naturally had the strength to do so. A dead person covered in terrifying scars laughed in a frenzy. Aha! A bunch of trash, forcing me to slumber in the frozen hell. Now I'm awake. I'm awake. All of you must die. He stood in front of Gu Qingshan to protect him, deflecting the incoming attacks. More and more vicious villains appeared around him. The dead surrounded Gu Qingshan, protecting her in the middle. One of them was brave enough to turn around to look at Gu Qingshan. Devil King, why did you awaken us? He asked. All the dead looked at Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan's gaze scanned through a certain spot on the ground. Su Cher was there. She was being protected by layers upon layers of abyssal monsters, temporarily safe. But the cold sweat on her face couldn't help but flow down her hair. She only had one arm left. Indeed, although she's long since surpassed the realm of mortals, possessing unparalleled powerful card spells, as well as the power of evolution granted by impartial goddess, the pain of losing an arm is unbearable for anyone. What is it for? Why did I summon you? Gu Qingshan looked at Su Cher's pained expression and muttered, Destroy. Hearing that answer, the dead person was extremely satisfied. Ahaha! Come, this shall be the era of hell. You trash deities. He laughed loudly. Kill everyone. Destroy. 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 All the dead people let out a deafening roar, like a curse capable of destroying everything, filling the entire world of Huang Quan. On the other side, countless rays of dim yellow light slowly rose from the ground. This person has the power of a ghost king. Look, that's the staff of hell. Sorry for the trouble. Who provoked this guy? Go, kill him, and take his divine weapon. Don't even think about it, you water ghosts of the river of forgetfulness. The black-clothed girl had appeared. The white-clothed girl standing beside her also yelled, The Ghost King is one of us. If anyone dares to make a move, don't blame me for being merciless. Of course you're protecting him, but he's just an outsider. Why don't we bullshit? Stop arguing. Be **starred. You tramp who collects garbage on Taiwei Mountain. How dare you attack us? Do you think our hell is a vegetarian? I've always looked down on you fellows from hell. You and those weirdos on the bridge of life and death are the shame of Huang Quan. You're courting death. We on the life and death bridge don't talk. Come on, let's fight. I'll beat you to death. The gods themselves were thrown into chaos. No one knew who made the first move, but they began to fight. Various divine skills and spells began to fly all over the world of Huang Quan. Gu Qingshan pointed at the red gate and ordered, Go, tear down this gate for me. Tear down this gate. All the dead shouted in unison. From the ground to the sky, the countless dead began to move. The red gate shook and shouted, Where are the divinities under Hell's Gate? A few sparks of light came from afar, circled around it, and protected it. A dignified divine official shouted, I am the divinity that rules over life and death. You dead, hurry up and leave. All the dead looked at Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan spoke without changing her expression. If someone dares to touch one of my people today, if anyone dares to stop me, I will destroy this Huang Quan and let all the divinities and ghosts die for eternity, eternal death. The dissipation of a soul means eternal death. The divine official paused a bit, but didn't dare to say anything else. Hearing the Devil King's words, the billions of dead all took a deep breath at the same time and let out a resounding roar that shattered the void of space. Eternal death of Huang Quan. The roars of hundreds of millions of dead people overlapped and turned into a shockwave that swept in all directions. The entire world of Huang Quan fell into chaos. All of a sudden, a dignified and fierce voice resounded from afar. Quickly dispel this cycle of life and death. A pale green talisman approached from afar and stuck itself onto the red gate. At the same time, the voice softened and whispered into Gu Qingshan's ears. This guy's trouble has nothing to do with us. You should at least be reasonable, don't you think? Instantly, all the fighting turned into nothing. Hell, the divinities, the dead, the forgetting river, everything disappeared in front of Gu Qingshan's eyes. The world returned to darkness. The metal fortress and the endless wall once again solidified. The two worlds had separated. Gu Qingshan scanned through with her inner sight, only to see that Su Sher was completely unharmed under the protection of the abyssal monsters. The others had also returned. Gu Qingshan relaxed and looked at the red gate on the other side. A hateful voice resounded from the red gate. It was my mistake, but now that the dead are gone, what can you do about it? I'll let it go this time, but I'll deal with you sooner or later. While it spoke, it slowly turned transparent. The Huang Quan hellspawn charged straight at Gu Qingshan. Run? In the blink of an eye, Gu Qingshan disappeared again. He reappeared in front of the red gate and swung his sword. Sword of extinguishing flames. Ho! Boom! A sea of flames manifested. The flames engulfed the door, instantly destroying its escape technique. The red gate solidified again and angrily shouted, "You!" Gu Qingshan swung his sword but didn't continue to unleash divine sword of frost. Arcs of blue lightning drifted around the sword as he swung it from afar. Secret art, life seeker, thaumaturgy, dream jolt. The red gate was struck and couldn't move at all. Seems like you're not an artifact, but a living entity that makes things easier. Gu Qingshan commented. A line of glowing text hovered in place on the war god. UI, frowny face, using the power of Earth's choice. To kill this monster requires 500,000 soul points. Wind and clouds converged on the Earth sword. I think you'll be able to better experience the fear of death, since you're a living entity. Gu Qingshan infused his soul points into it and began to activate his secret art. The stronger his killing intent, the calmer he became. Arcs of lightning continued to linger on the red gate, causing it to be unable to move at all. The red gate suddenly begged for mercy. No, Devil King, I was wrong. A vast sword phantom manifested from thin air to form a giant sword that slashed down from above. Boom! The entire red gate was slashed to pieces by the sword. The soul points value on the war god UI dropped by a large amount, then abruptly rose again. What did you say just now? Gu Qingshan appeared to be listening attentively. No one answered him. The broken pieces slowly crumbled into dust and scattered in the wind. The red gate had been completely destroyed. Both its body and soul were no longer able to exist in this world. Gu Qingshan waited for a while longer. In the dark secret passage, nothing else came. His spiritual sense did not give rise to any suspicious inspirations. Everything returned to silence. It was now that Gu Qingshan nodded and flew down to the remains of the mech. A few moments later, the remains of the mech were broken open. Gu Qingshan quickly walked out and headed straight for Su Sher. All the abyssal monsters bowed to him and silently made a path for him. Su Sher was still one-armed. Her entire body was covered in wounds and wounds. Her eyes were filled with pain. Gu Qingshan walked forward and lightly hugged her. "You've been through a lot," he whispered. Su Sher leaned on his shoulder and pursed her lips. "No way, I'm fine." Chapter 1175. Everyone gathered once again. Gu Qingshan pointed at a pair of horns and a horse-headed sword hovering next to Su Sher and asked, "What's going on here?" Su Sher then told him what happened. Gu Qingshan muses, "It was a dangerous situation just now. Why didn't you use them?" Su Sher's expression was a bit cautious as she replied. They had just fought to the death with me, but after I killed their master, they immediately wanted to accept me as their master. Gu Qingshan looked at her and gestured for her to continue. Su Shuai replied, if they're acting, then I definitely can't use them. If they're not acting, then their attitude towards their master is too cruel. They might have other intentions, so I'm even more afraid of using them. Gu Qingshan's expression relaxed. Shuai, you've really grown up, Clang. Within the intense clash of swords, Gu Qingshan's hand and sword disappeared, then reappeared. A cold gleam flashed through the horns and horse-headed sword. So fast, everyone had the same thought in their minds. Two desperate screams resounded. They were struck by the earth sword and disappeared from this world. Weren't they artifacts of Huang Quan? What's going on? Su Sher asked. Gu Qingshan explained, when I killed at Hellgate just now, I noticed their secret. The real Huang Quan divine armaments had already returned to that world after they were defeated. These two were fakes. Then what exactly are they? Sha Chong couldn't help but cut in. It's the two guys that Su Shuai killed when they were on the verge of death. They seemed to be able to perform some sort of spell that allowed them to take the form of divine armaments, using them to deceive others in exchange for a chance to live. At this point, Gu Qingshan suddenly realized. That's right. This is very similar to the mystery of all things equal. What kind of technique is this? Three people in a row have a secret technique that's similar to mystery of all things equal. Could it be that this mystery is very common in that Huang Quan fragment world? Gu Qingshan shook her head and didn't think about it any further. Now isn't the time to think about this. He shouted towards the distance. A fairy! Come here! Fairies flew over with flaming staffs in their hands. Gu Qingshan said to the flames, the battle is over. Regardless of whether your divine armaments are forged or not, send someone to help me heal the wounded first. They were the ones who created all of Lola's top-level healing potions, but the fairies were even more skilled at healing spells. Unfortunately, it was difficult for ordinary people to even see them, not to mention being personally treated by the fairies. But now, Gu Qingshan had already formed an alliance with the fairies, and even gifted them the enchanted wood to help defend against all the enemy's attacks. Naturally, his request was taken seriously by the fairies. The sparks formed a line of words in the void. Wait a moment. We'll be able to activate the divine artifacts soon. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask, what divine artifact? A spatial artifact. Spark flew back. A few breaths later, all the sparks parted to the sides. The darkness receded to the sides like a curtain. The scenery of another world appeared in front of everyone. Beautiful and exquisite palaces, various buildings that floated in the air, lush green forests, and countless strange creatures. The Kingdom of Pixies, Hayesden excitedly exclaimed. This was an extremely rare sight, as very few people had ever seen the true Kingdom of Pixies. A pixie with a small mustache and a crown flew out from inside. Behind him were countless pixies, all of them wearing luxurious ceremonial robes and wielding staffs. This pixie cleared his throat and loudly declared, all who fought alongside our pixie ancestors, you shall receive the friendship of the pixies. Hayesden, Guyan, and Sha Chong all smiled. Ordinary people wouldn't even be able to see the pixies, much less offend them. Their treasures were priceless, and their friendship was even rarer, because as long as you had their friendship, you could find them at any time and trade with them. This was a treatment that all races dreamed of. After the pixie declared, he looked around and asked with a confused tone, then my father's 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 father, where are you? It was completely silent, with only the flickering of sparks. A small pixie next to him whispered, King, they are currently souls. The king slapped his head and waved the short staff in his hand. The most precious material is still stored with the Dragon Clan. So, ancestors, please use your wooden bodies for the time being. We will deal with this problem later. Move, puppets. With a series of light noises, the long-bearded old man and the countless pixies all appeared. All of them now had wooden bodies. The long-bearded old man waved his hand to signal his descendants to stay silent for now. He took the Pixie King's short staff, flew over, and chanted an incantation while brandishing it at Sushare. Your arms are stronger than ever, able to hold a broom and hit a mouse. Your body is stronger and stronger, just like a wild boar in the forest. Bam! A puff of white smoke drifted away from Sushare's body. Sushare was surprised to find that her missing arm had grown back, as well as her wounds. The long-bearded old man bowed. "Milady, your arm has been buffed with the power of anti-magic and regeneration. If one day you run into a bad guy, you can use it to directly attack them. By the way, you were very brave just now, so brave that it moved me. Would you be willing to turn into a pixie?" Sushare understood that a pixie's way of thinking wasn't the same as a human's, so she didn't say anything and only gratefully bowed and said, "No need. I still want to be a human. Thank you for healing my wounds." The long-bearded old man nodded, then flew in front of Gu Shan. "Young one, if it weren't for your efforts, us pixies wouldn't have any hope at all. We would have already been eaten by the Mara Heavenly King." Gu Shan smiled. "No need to be so polite. It was only by helping each other that we managed to get this far." The long-bearded old man sighed and asked, "Are you willing to take the pixie princess as your wife?" Gu Shan's smile froze. Sushare reached out her newly healed hand, placed it on his waist, and pinched it tightly. "That won't be necessary." Gu Shan clenched her teeth and spoke with a stern expression. "I'm a human, and I only like human women." The long-bearded old man appeared regretful and said, "Very well, then we'll talk about our business later." His expression immediately became fierce. "Balaho! Maraho! Mara Heavenly King, get out here." He pointed the short staff in his hand at the void of space. But nothing happened. Strange? It's not in this world anymore. The long-bearded old man was confused. Since the enemy had already escaped, the long-bearded old man couldn't do anything but return to his descendants to reminisce. Sushare reached out her hand and gave a gun to Gu Shan. "This is the weapon Impartial Goddess gave you. I used it just now." Gu Shan pushed the gun back and said, "Take it for self-defense, then what about you?" Sushare asked. "When I'm not willing, no one can get close to me," Gu Shan replied. Sushare was happy, but still insisted on putting the gun in Gu Shan's hand. But as soon as she let go, the gun flew back in her hand. An electronic voice resounded. "Frowny face, this gun has fully harmonized with Sushare's genes and brainwaves, currently promoting Sushare's deep personal evolution, unable to be used by anyone else." Sushare no longer evaded and put the gun away. "Shan, what do you plan to do now?" Sushare asked. Gu Shan went silent. Finally, this moment, the decisive battle against the deity of chaos and the soul shrieker is about to begin. This is the beginning of the storm. I've obtained Svalbard's shield, so I need to save Lady Blacksea now. Gu Shan replied. "I need to return to the Bramble Bird Kingdom right now. Gather everyone and return to the past to fight against the soul shrieker." Sushare held his hand tightly and resolutely said, "I'm coming with you." Gu Shan nodded. All of a sudden, the electronic voice resounded again. "You can't, Sushare, you're currently at a crucial point of your evolution. You can't rashly take risks. Furthermore, you and I have a more important mission, don't you?" "What do you mean?" Sushare asked in displeasure. The electronic voice replied. "The final war stronghold we're standing on was the Starlight Empire's most powerful technological amalgamation. I can't open this stronghold. Its core password might be in the hands of another successor of the Empire," Sushare replied. The electronic voice continued. "You are the final successor of the Empire, while I have Impartial Goddess' most powerful computing power, as well as all of the Empire's password algorithms. What you mean is, you and I will enter the stronghold together. With your identity and my power, we will definitely be able to open this stronghold. Then we will use it to participate in the decisive battle." "That's a good idea." Sushare's eyes glowed. She turned to Gu Shan. Gu Shan asked, "There won't be any danger, right?" The electronic voice replied. "There won't be. I'm very familiar with these things. I just need a bit of time." "How long?" Gu Shan asked. The electronic voice replied. "If it's quick, 1 or 2 days. If it's slow, 3 to 4 days. Go gather everyone first. We'll be there soon." Very well, then I'll leave all of these abyssal monsters behind. There's no need to be afraid of them. The abyss is currently our ally, Gu Shan replied. Don't worry, the electronic voice replied. M. Chapter 1176. A ship was quickly moving through the space vortex towards the front line. Through the Pixie's spatial divine artifact, he was directly transported to the vicinity of the eternal abyss. At this point, he was heading back. His destination was the Bramblebird Kingdom. See, Gu Shan, can you hear me? Lola's voice came from the ship's communicator. I can, Gu Shan replied. Did everything go smoothly? Lola asked. Everything went smoothly. When I return, we'll immediately declare war. All right, I'll prepare. The call ended. Gu Shan sat on the spacious armchair in the cockpit and put a pill into his mouth. He was the only one on the ship. Su Cher stayed behind in the secret passage. Together with impartial goddess superdimensional weapon, she was preparing to enter the metal fortress to receive the Starlight Empire's remaining documents and weapons. Haze Din, Gaian, and Sha Chong brought their subordinates to visit the Pixie Kingdom as guests. Before they parted, the Pixies invited Gu Shan and Su Cher to visit the Pixie Kingdom as guests. Gu Shan naturally didn't agree and said that she still had to return to the Bramblebird Kingdom. The long-bearded old man once again asked Gu Shan to marry a pixie princess. Su Cher instantly became cautious. Why are the pixies so enthusiastic about this? I can't let Gu Shan stay here any longer. While pushing Gu Shan away, she urged her, quickly leave and do what you need to do. I'll come find you later. And so, Gu Shan really left. He directly used the spatial divine artifact the pixies had just made to leave this place. Why does he look like he's running away? The Pixie Empress asked in surprise. Su Cher glared at the pixies and spoke with a frigid tone. He won't marry a pixie. I've told you before. He's a human. Do you understand? A human can only marry a human. Her words were cut off by the long-bearded old man. The long-bearded old man regretfully waved his hand and said, Young lady, I admire the willpower you displayed in battle. I originally wanted you to accept the Pixie royal family's blessing, become a Pixie princess with the ability to use witchcraft, and then marry him. The Fairy King also nodded and praised. Yes, today is a good day. We can hold a grand wedding for you. Dead silence. Su Cher froze and didn't move for a long time. An electronic voice suddenly came from her arm. Su Cher, it's time for us to enter the fortress. For some reason, the electronically synthesized voice was filled with joy and satisfaction. Of course, Gu Shan had already left, so he didn't know about any of this. On the spaceship, he temporarily entered a state of rest. After absorbing the power of more than 1,000 cultivators, coupled with the original power of the magic dragon, he was now in a stage of rapid growth. At every moment, Gu Shan could feel her strength improving. At a certain moment, a line of glowing text suddenly appeared on the war god UI. Frowny face, your personal strength has reached Yama King realm. You can trigger your tribulation at any time. Gu Shan didn't show any change in her expression. He could sense that the power of the slumbering magic dragon wouldn't stop at Yama King realm. It might even help him break through further. But of course, it wouldn't be convenient for him to face his tribulation on the spaceship. And so, adorable Gu Shan called out. A voice quickly responded from the void of space. Xiao? Gu Shan asked, did you borrow some sort of ability from someone else and have been hiding it all this time? The jade gourd pendant adorable appeared from the void of space, circling around Gu Shan without stopping. Xiao, 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 xiao. It let out an excited sound. Gu Shan understood and raised her thumb. Well done, he praised. Since Adorable borrowed this ability, I'll be able to sneak a peek at the other world and gather more information. After all, I'm standing on the side of order and the abyss, fighting against chaos and the parallel world. This time, the Eternal Abyss was quite generous. Originally, the Sable Protector's shield would only randomly summon a few abyssal monsters, regardless of whether they were weak or strong. But the eternal abyss sensed the summoning of this divine artifact and sent all of its most powerful abyssal monsters here. It wasn't until all the battles were over that the abyssal monsters slowly left. Gu Qingshan was well aware of this. After a bit of thought, he activated the ship's concealment device, then stopped the ship in an inconspicuous ruin of the void. Gu Qingshan arranged a whole defensive formation, then released the Sable Protector shield. When everything was ready, he reached his hands forward and began to form a hand seal. Secret Art, Sealed Body, Een Shift. Secret Art, Soul Goes. With both techniques activated, his soul once again left his body. He released his inner sight and carefully scanned the void of space within a radius of several 10,000 miles. Everything was normal. This place was originally a ruin of the void that he came up with on the spur of the moment, so normally no one would notice his presence. Combined with the Sable Protector shield and the Jade Gourd pendant adorable, Gu Qingshan was confident that his safety was guaranteed. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then took out a large bamboo hat that could conceal his presence and appearance. These were items from the suspended world, so he kept a few of them since he found them useful. As for the Elemental Fairy King's personal armor, he left it for Su's share. After all, he already had the Sable Protector shield, as well as the Jade Gourd pendant adorable, so he felt assured to leave the personal armor to protect Shuai. At this point, Gu Qingshan was wearing the Silent Dusk cloak, a large bamboo hat, as well as a sword by her waist, completely concealing her identity. After preparing, Gu Qingshan said, "Adorable, use that technique on me. Just maintain it with soul points, don't fully use it, then come with me to take a look, Xiao." Adorable responded. Right after that, it used that technique on Gu Qingshan. Divine Skill, Cycle of Life and Death. This was a divine skill that came from the Red Gate. Instantly, Gu Qingshan noticed that everything around him had become faint. Another world suddenly appeared in front of him. The Huang Quan Fragment World. Just like when the Red Gate used this technique involved switching between two worlds, so it wasn't something that could be completed in a short amount of time. As Gu Qingshan stepped onto a rock, he found himself standing at a corner of the Grand Tai Wei Mountain. He had entered the Huang Quan Fragment World. Gu Qingshan carefully concealed his presence and observed his surroundings while hiding from the wind. In the sky, quite a few faint sprites of light that exuded a solemn presence were drifting about. The earth itself was trembling and rumbling. Many divinities were working together to send hell back to the crack between the Grand Tai Wei Mountain and the Forgetting River. This world appeared to be in chaos, as if the Devil King's influence hadn't ended yet. Gu Qingshan narrowed his eyes and released his inner sight to carefully investigate. All of a sudden, he noticed a familiar person at the bank of the Forgetting River. She seemed to have just finished something and was hurriedly heading in a certain direction. Gu Qingshan didn't hesitate and vanished. "It's me." He appeared behind the white-clothed girl and sent his voice. The white-clothed girl paused briefly, then spoke to the void of space. "Big sis, go back and wait for me. I'm going to cook." A streak of flame flew out from her mouth and disappeared without a trace. The white-clothed girl turned around and headed in another direction. "Don't fly, don't run, don't greet anyone. Just slowly walk with me," the white-clothed girl sent her voice. Gu Qingshan understood and followed her. Sure enough, the white-clothed girl led him without saying a word or greeting anyone and kept walking forward. As time passed, more and more ghost soldiers and ghost generals appeared on the road, as well as a few divinities. "Hurry, hurry. Someone has silently used a technique similar to switching between two worlds. Relay the superior's order. Quickly find any suspicious people. Begin a head count. Report immediately if you find anything amiss." "Yes, sir." "Hurry." A divinity noticed that the technique began on the Grand Tai Wei Mountain. "Line up. Prepare for battle." While shouting, they hurriedly moved forward. The atmosphere of Huang Quan seemed to have become tense again. The white-clothed girl lowered her head, quickened her pace, and brought Gu Qingshan to a courtyard on the bank of the Forgetting River. She opened the door, ushered Gu Qingshan in, and quickly closed the door. "There, this is our place. It should be safe, the white-clothed girl sighed in relief. The black-clothed girl was already waiting for them. You're too daring. The black-clothed girl glared at Gu Qin-shan and quickly said. Gu Qin-shan looked at the void of space. A faint woo-woo-woo sound came from the void of space. Gu Qin-shan immediately said, "This technique can last for another 30 seconds. We need to make it short." Chapter 1177. This technique can last for another 30 seconds. Let's make it short. As soon as Gu Qin-shan said so, a commotion could be heard from outside. From afar, it was getting closer and closer. The technique's fluctuations are pointing this way, someone shouted. Various powerful fluctuations swept towards the small courtyard like a storm. The black-clothed girl had a complicated expression on her face, seemingly making a decision. "But I don't know how to tell you." She shook her head. At this moment, if it was anyone else, they would have already understood that the other party felt that 30 seconds was too short and that nothing could be said clearly. But Gu Qin-shan had been through countless situations and met countless people in his life, so he was able to notice the hidden meaning behind her words from her tone alone. At this moment, he could sense that she had distanced herself from him. Although she was still standing in front of him, she had already moved away from him, as if she was hesitating and resisting something. What was it that caused their attitudes to change? In this situation, unless it was something that could endanger their own lives. Gu Qin-shan's thoughts quickly turned and immediately said, "You decided to help me before, so you should be sure of your decision now." The two girls looked at him. Gu Qin-shan's tone became heavier. "You were right to treat me as one of your own. I will not disappoint a friend who has fought alongside me." The black-clothed girl looked at him and said nothing. Gu Qin-shan waited for a short moment. Time suddenly became extremely long, but also full of danger. The commotion outside was getting louder and louder. Countless majestic energy fluctuations gradually approached. The fluctuations of the technique were slowly coming to an end. The white-clothed girl hurriedly called out, "Big sis, hurry up and make a decision. I'm leaving. It'll be hard for us to meet again. Give me a chance to help you." Gu Qin-shan followed up. Hearing that, the black-clothed girl suddenly said in frustration, "Damn it, this lady's luck hasn't been good lately, but I want to make a gamble today." As soon as she said that, Gu Qin-shan felt like she had returned from a faraway place, no longer confused and uncertain. The black-robed girl took out a jade slip and quickly cast a spell on it. "Time is too tight. I only have time to tell you very few things," she said in an incomparably solemn tone. "But I must say this first. Whether you look at this jade scroll or not is up to you. Once you look at it, you will not be able to live your previous days in peace. You will definitely fall into hesitation and despair." As soon as he finished speaking, the black-clothed girl shoved the jade slip into his hands and pushed it at him. Gu Qin-shan immediately fell backwards and sat on the floor of the spaceship. The entire Huang Quan world disappeared. The other party had pushed him out of the Huang Quan fragment world. Or rather, the spell's duration was almost up. He was back. The soft lights of the spaceship illuminated the cabin. Gu Qin-shan did not move. He stayed in a daze for a while, replaying every word the other person had said in his mind. Only when he felt that he had completely understood the other party's meaning did he slowly stand up. He turned his head and saw that his body was still sitting on the spacious chair with his eyes closed and a serene expression on his face. The surroundings were quiet. The sound of wind could be heard from outside the spaceship. It was the wind of the space vortex, never stopping. Gu Qin-shan looked at the jade scroll in his hand. This was a jade scroll that gave off the power of a destructive spell. Gu Qin-shan had seen this kind of jade scroll before. This jade scroll will be destroyed after being looked at once. What exactly did she do in such a secretive manner? What kind of information did the black-clothed girl inject into this jade scroll in such a short period of time? Even without opening it, Gu Qin-shan could sense an inexplicable, eerie truth. That truth was like a venomous snake hiding in the darkness, chilling to the bone. Gu Qin-shan sighed and returned to his body. He opened his eyes. The item was still in his hand. Should I look at it or not? Gu Shan recalled the other party's words again. Whether or not you look at it is up to you. But you need to understand, once you look at it, you will no longer be able to live your previous life in peace. You will fall into hesitation and despair. Live my previous life in peace. Gu Shan shook his head and sighed. Living in an era where the infinite worlds were constantly being destroyed, who could truly live their lives in peace? Unless they were like the giant of beginning, forever hiding in the clouds. But living in the clouds for a few 100 million years would also require courage and willpower that normal people wouldn't have. Otherwise, they would have already gone mad. Gu Shan stroked the jade scroll in his hand. After a while, he slowly infused it with spirit energy. The jade scroll gave off strands of light that gathered into a cluster in his hand, slowly hovered in the air, then unfolded to form a screen. Light flickered. Under the gloomy sky, several thousand human cultivators were kneeling on the ground, their hands tied behind their backs, unable to move at all. "Carry out the execution," someone shouted. Several thousand heads fell to the ground. Around these corpses was a boundless desert. The originally empty desert was now filled with the corpses of cultivators. A man wearing a Yiksha mask descended from above and asked, "Are they all dead?" "Sir, the last batch have been killed. Please examine." Let me take a look." The man slowly flew through the desert. At a certain point, he stopped, picked up a head from the ground, and carefully observed it. "Junior brothers, you are all too foolish," he spoke to the head. "But now that you're all dead, there will no longer be anyone who would go against our ideals. We will turn into wraiths to survive the apocalypse, complete the entire wraith realm, and even the entire samsara, becoming the rulers of infinite worlds." Saying so, he tossed the head to the ground and left with his hands clasped behind his back. The light faded, then gathered again. The scene changed. A black figure hovered in the air. Around him, countless people wearing Yiksha masks were unleashing their spells one after another. Someone spoke. The bygone era, humans created a powerful soul artifact right next to the eternal abyss, called the Sleeping Magic Dragon. "We will create an opportunity for you to reincarnate into that soul artifact." "Yes," the black soul replied. "Remember well, from now on, you are the magic dragon. You must destroy their efforts, guide our divine artifact to the world they created, and chase them away." "Do not worry, sirs. I will definitely accomplish this," the black soul replied. The scene changed again. A man wearing a Yiksha mask appeared. He was giving a speech to his fellow masked companions. "We will destroy the 908 parallel worlds, using this power to break through the laws of the void and fall into the eternal abyss. This will create an unparalleled fate corrosion that will strike the eternal abyss, perhaps even destroy it, and help us win this war." The scene became unstable. The man's voice became more and more fanatical. "Just like the samsara fragments that we've conquered, as well as the many parallel worlds, the eternal abyss and the 900 million world layers will also become our vassals. Their living beings will be enslaved by us, slaves while alive. Their bodies will be used as food after death. Their souls will be reincarnated as slaves again. Now, let the war descend upon the space vortex." Everyone passionately replied, "War." The scene ended. Crack! The entire J-tag was shattered. The black-clothed girl used a short 10 breaths worth of time to infuse a total of 3 scenes into the J-tag. Gu Shan remained silent for a long while, without saying anything. The ship returned to silence. Time slowly passed. Gu Shan finally spoke up. "I had thought it would only be a small matter, but it turned out to be a wraith realm that even Huang Quan and the human realm have no choice but to obey." He suddenly took out a ring. This was the abyssal ring that Boss gave him. Gu Shan activated this ring and sent information towards the eternal abyss. Chapter 1178. Readers don't like it, asking me if I can change to another book. Imagining a bunch of sad faces, I say, then I'll just refresh World Apocalypse Online. Those are my usual jokes. Now I'm going to promote a new book. It's called Starting with the Cuckoo Bird. I've already read this book before I even signed the contract. I think it's very well written. I even left a post praising it in the comments section. This is indeed true. You can go look at my post. It was around March of last year. The body is like a feather. Life is like wild grass. Seen the darkest night. So the blazing flame in my heart never wavers. TSK, just the introduction is already very good. The content is also of a high standard. The author seems to be a newbie like me. Although we haven't talked to each other before, in our line of work, words are more than enough. Our minds are in sync. I think he'll get better and better at writing in the future. Chapter 1179. The abyssal ring gave off a cluster of light, paused briefly in mid-air, then broke through the darkness in an instant. The eternal abyss will soon receive this information. Gu Qing-shan put the ring away and leaned back in her chair, silently thinking. We will turn into wraiths and survive the apocalypse. We will restore the entire wraith realm. Recalling what she saw and heard just now, Gu Qing-shan couldn't help but scowl. My homeworld also had a wraith realm, but I was able to easily flatten it with Barry and Kitty's help. My homeworld was the only one that had 3 divine armaments, so my homeworld was most likely a samsara evolved from a fragment of Huang Quan. Combined with the information I received just now, the world that acted against the eternal abyss seemed to be a fragment world of the wraith realm. Restoring, the stronger the world, the more powerful the living beings within it would be. This principle would most likely be the same for the samsara world as well. I really wonder how many fragments of the wraith realm have been restored and how powerful it has become. Gu Qing-shan sighed. Suddenly, he heard something. He tapped his inventory bag. A cold gleam flew out, turned into a sword, and hovered in midair. You're awake? Gu Qing-shan smiled and asked. It was a long nap. A lazy female voice resounded from the heaven sword. Following that, a beautiful girl flew out from the heaven sword and casually sat down on the chair across from Gu Qing-shan. Luo Bingley. What's been going on lately? She asked. I met a few new friends and danced a few times, Gu Qing-shan replied. Luo Bingley recalled Gu Qing-shan's dancing appearance and chuckled. It seems I've missed a lot of interesting things. Can you tell me a thing or two? Gu Qing-shan then told her what happened. Luo Bingley's expression slowly turned serious. Gu Qing-shan asked, I'm about to break through. Will you be able to participate in the battle? Luo Bingley sensed the spiritual aura fluctuations coming from his body and smiled. The Yama heavenly tribulation? Gu Qing-shan replied. Luo Bingley warned, you have to be careful. For a cultivator like you who fights all the time, if you relax and forget about home and duty, you really won't be able to come back. Gu Qing-shan said, I've fought my way here and killed countless people. My karma is low. I'm afraid that the Yama god will kick me out soon. Luo Bingley glanced at him, then suddenly lowered her head and said, Speaking of battle, I actually reflected on it while I was half awake. Reflect? Gu Qing-shan was surprised. Luo Bingley slowly replied, Perhaps it's because I've been disguised as a cultivator for too long in the age of old, so I've become a bit infatuated with the mundane world. In truth, as the sword spirit of a sword, fighting and killing is the true meaning of my existence, Gu Qing-shan replied. You can't say that outside of work there's still a bit of free time, a bit of relaxation, a proper balance between work and rest. That's how you can unleash your full potential. Luo Bingley looked at him and smiled. I've never seen you rest before, Gu Qing-shan sighed. He tapped his inventory bag, took out a bottle of spirit liquor, and poured both of them a glass. They clinked their glasses and drank it all at once. Strong liquor. Luo Bingley scowled. If you're not used to it, I can exchange it for spirit fruit liquor, Gu Qing-shan said. No need. Luo Bingley received the bottle and poured Gu Qing-shan another glass. Actually, while I was sleeping, I was studying a sound element spell that I once learned, she said. Sound element spell? Gu Qing-shan's thoughts turned. In truth, as a cultivator in the entire barren cloud heavenly palace, Luo Bingley was only slightly weaker than Xie Guhong. In terms of pure offensive power, she was the strongest. That was why Xie Guhong asked her to think of a solution when something happened at the front lines. Gu Qing-shan drank another glass and couldn't help but recall the time when he first entered the barren cloud heavenly palace, when Luo Bingley played the flute to dispel the demons on top of the flowing jade peak. He lightly recited, "Remembering the days when we drank on the bridge at noon, there were many heroes sitting there." Luo Bingley also poured herself a glass and continued, "The moonlight from the long ravine passes without a sound. In the sparse shadows of the apricot flowers, I played the flute until dawn, saying so." She drank it all in one gulp. Gu Qing Shan saw the desolate look on her face and pondered. "I have a technique that can allow you to turn back into a human. Are you willing to learn it?" Luo Bingley asked. "Is it the technique that Shanu uses every time she turns into a human?" Gu Qing Shan lightly nodded. Luo Bingley thought for a long time, as if there was something that she hadn't decided yet. After a while, her brows slowly relaxed. Luo Bingley put down her glass and clasped her fist. "This technique is very beneficial to me. Please teach me." Gu Qing Shan then carefully explained the all beings equal technique to her, as well as breaking down each and every doubtful and crucial point before slowly explaining it to her. Hearing that, Luo Bingley fell into thought. "I might need a bit of time to learn this technique," she said. "It's fine. Take your time to learn it. You'll be able to turn back into a cultivator and travel the infinite worlds," Gu Qing Shan told her. Luo Bingley went silent for a bit, then suddenly asked, "I've always complained about you using chaotic flow, and even complained to you. Aren't you afraid that I'll suddenly run away after learning this all beings equal technique?" Gu Qing Shan put down her glass and sincerely replied, "A cultivator chooses a sword, and a sword also chooses a cultivator. This is a mutual recognition between a sword and a sword cultivator. So if you and I don't agree, there's really no need to force it. You can go find the person who holds the sword in your heart. I won't say anything else." Luo Bingley lowered her head, poured herself another glass of liquor, slowly sipped it without saying anything else. "Rest time is over. I'll have to break through." Gu Qing Shan nodded to Luo Bingley and closed her eyes. He was about to break through to the next realm and trigger the heavens tribulation. Luo Bingley downed the entire glass of liquor in one gulp, stood up, and returned to the heaven sword. The heaven sword returned behind Gu Qing Shan, entered the void of space, and stood side by side with the earth sword and Chowing sword. The earth sword suddenly sent its voice. "Have you thought of a solution?" Luo Bingley sent her voice. If I have this secret, I'll be even more confident," the earth sword then asked. "Where are our other components?" Luo Bingley replied. "They're all with me," the earth sword said. "You're the main artifact spirit. I'll have to trouble you for this," Luo Bingley replied. "It's not time yet. No need to say anything else." After saying that, the two swords stopped sending their voices. They silently stared at Gu Qing Shan. Time slowly passed. At a certain point, Gu Qing Shan opened her eyes and formed a hand seal. This was a hand seal to guide spirit energy to flow through the dantian, as well as all the meridians in the body, a hand seal specifically designed to display the full power of a cultivator. As soon as this hand seal was formed, Gu Qing Shan's presence abruptly skyrocketed. The laws in the void of space immediately sensed him. Lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI. "Frowny face, your strength has far surpassed the limit of Paragon Realm, and it's still continuously growing. You're currently breaking through to Yama King Realm. In 5 seconds, the Yama King Realm Tribulation will descend. 5, 4... The Yama King Realm Tribulation has officially begun." An invisible law descended from the void of space onto Gu Qing Shan's body. Gu Qing Shan vanished from the ship. The Sea of Clouds. Another sea of clouds. Gu Qing Shan arrived with the wind, lightly landing on a lone pavilion in front of the Sea of Clouds. As he looked around, he appeared surprised. Compared to the layer of clouds where the giant of beginning was, the Sea of Clouds here was completely different. Lotus flowers blossomed, clouds drifted in the air, heavenly maidens sang softly, jade palaces filled with jade. Various precious treasures were scattered all over the mountains and forests. Spirit springs gurgled, clear streams of water flowed. Cloud airships flew all the way to the sky. Countless cultivators came and went. Such a beautiful scene, almost like a heaven realm. The Yama-King realm was one of the legendary heaven realms. Only those with great fortune could come here. Cultivators started from chi training, continuously cultivating and enduring the heavens tribulation. Only when they broke through to Yama-King realm would the heavens tribulation change. This tribulation was a tribulation of good karma. Gu Qingshan silently pondered the situation of this tribulation and stood still for a while. He came down from the sea of clouds, appearing out of nowhere. But the cultivators who passed by the pavilion, some only nodded at him before flying away, some didn't even bother to look at him. Some cultivators gathered in groups of 3 to 5, found a cloud, and prepared a sumptuous banquet for their guests. Male and female cultivators became companions, each taking their own treasures from the sea of clouds, laughing as they chased after each other, slowly going further away. Sometimes a lone cultivator casually waved his hand, summoning several beautiful heavenly maidens from the void of space behind him, escorting him as they left. Gu Qingshan watched for a while, sighed, and praised, "The Yama-King realm truly lives up to its name." Chapter 1180. Gu Qingshan was standing in the pavilion. Time slowly passed. No one came to greet him. Every cultivator that passed by was busy enjoying the beauty of the surpassing realm. None of them came up to talk to him. This actually made Gu Qingshan feel a lot more assured. He didn't hesitate and quickly left the pavilion. As soon as he stepped out, lotus flowers sprouted from under his feet to support Gu Qingshan. 16 beautiful holy maidens appeared from the void of space around him and bowed to him. "We greet the heavenly Lord." The holy maidens greeted him. It was now that the passers-by looked over in surprise. But they were all busy enjoying themselves and quickly left. Gu Qingshan clasped his fist to return the greeting. "This humble one is Gu Qingshan. May I ask why everyone calls me the Heavenly Lord?" The holy maidens giggled. "Every person that can come to the Yama Heavenly Lord is the Yama Heavenly Lord." Gu Qingshan nodded. "So that's why." Among the holy maidens, the most beautiful one came forward and stared at Gu Qingshan. "Heavenly Lord Gu, from today onwards, we 16 holy maidens will be your servants. Your daily needs, meals, rest, and play will all be taken care of by us. Of course, if you ever get tired of us, just say the word, and we will be replaced by new sisters." Gu Qingshan replied. "I'm sorry, I don't have much money." The holy maiden smiled and replied, "The Yama Heavenly Lord does not need to use money. Everything is the manifestation of your blessings from the past. It is the enjoyment you deserve." Gu Qingshan mused. "In other words, once my blessings are used up, I can return." The holy maiden nodded. "That is correct." Gu Qingshan sighed in relief. "Then, how do I view my blessings?" The holy maiden replied. "The heaven realm has its own karmic fire cleansing lotus flower. It can measure the heavenly Lord's blessings and karma." "Karma can be measured?" "That's right. Heavenly Lord, please follow us to the heavenly fragrance divine spring." "Why are we going there?" "We'll help you bathe and change your clothes, then show you around the wonders of the Yama heavenly domain. Tomorrow, we'll weigh your merits and karma." The 16 holy maidens surrounded Gu Qingshan twice, then knelt on the ground and offered all kinds of items with both hands. Gu Qingshan looked at them one by one. In their hands, there were all kinds of clothes, jade pendants, belts, boots, and other items. They shone with spiritual light and were obviously not ordinary items. Gu Qingshan looked at herself. His armor had already been given to Su Sher, and he was only wearing his usual cultivator robes. He asked, "Can I not change my clothes?" "Of course. In the Yama heavenly realm, everything is up to the heavenly Lord," said the holy daughter. "Then how do we get to the heavenly fragrance divine spring?" "Heaven Lord Gu, you only need to say a word, and we will arrive." Gu Qingshan muttered. The surrounding scenery swayed. He found himself at the edge of a hot spring. The mist was dense, the birds were singing, and the flowers were fragrant. Amidst the gentle breeze, the sound of spring water was exceptionally pleasing to the ears. The 16 holy daughters followed him here. "Why don't I see anyone else?" Gu Qingshan asked. The holy daughter replied, "This spring is divided into countless parts. Each part is a world of its own. Only a single heavenly lord and his servants are allowed to enter." Saying so, the holy daughters began to take off their clothes. "What are you doing?" Gu Shan was surprised. The holy daughters laughed. One of the holy daughters replied, "We are here to serve the heavenly Lord. We will fulfill all of your wishes." Gu Shan sighed. "When it comes to bathing, I'm not very good at it," another holy daughter replied. "Don't worry, heavenly Lord. We are all virgins, born from your blessings. We are pure and untainted, but we know how to serve you." Gu Shan went silent for a bit, then said, "Let us skip the bathing part. Please show me the world of the Yama heavenly realm." "Understood," the holy daughters replied. The hot spring suddenly disappeared. Gu Shan found himself standing on top of a cloud. The sky was boundless. The closer he got to the sea of clouds, the more blue it became. Instead, the farthest part of the sky was completely covered in darkness. Gu Shan looked up, only to see a few indiscernible noises occasionally flashing through the darkness. Gu Shan pointed at the sky and asked, "Why is it dark up there? What's up there?" The holy daughter replied, "Heavenly Lord, above us is the Yama layer, and we are currently at the heaven realm layer. When these two worlds are combined, they form the Yama heavenly realm." Another holy daughter replied, "After you've checked your merit and karma, you can choose to stay at the sea of clouds and enjoy your blessings, or go to the Yama layer and endure the suffering of karma." Gu Shan smiled. "If that's the case, who would be willing to go to the Yama layer? This is the original structure of the Yama heavenly realm," the Haki maiden explained solemnly. "It is the same regardless of whether or not anyone enters. Just like the purifying lotus flower of virtuous karmic fire, it can be used to measure both virtue and karma." Gu Shan nodded to express his understanding. He looked towards the sea of clouds. Clouds were drifting about, appearing and disappearing from time to time. There was a courtyard on top of each cloud. These courtyards varied in size. Some were as big as a city wall, while others were as small as a courtyard house. Seeing that he was looking at them carefully, one of the holy maidens said with a sweet voice, "Let's go." These are the residences of the heavenly lords. The size of each residence, as well as the facilities inside, correspond to the heavenly lord's merit. The greater the merit, the bigger the residence. Gu Shan nodded and muttered, "So that's how it is." What an eye-opener! As he turned around, he saw that other than himself and the 16 holy daughters, there was nothing else on the cloud he was standing on. The heavenly maiden explained, "Heaven Lord Gu, you have to chant my abode in your mind for your abode to appear." Gu Shan asked, "Is that fine? I haven't measured my merit at the karmic flame purifying lotus flower." Yet the holy daughter replied, "Although you haven't measured it yet, you do have merit, so you can stay here for today and measure it tomorrow." Gu Shan silently chanted. The cloud began to move and spread in all directions. It was expanding so quickly that the other clouds couldn't help but move out of its way. The cloud continued to expand, only stopping after a few dozen breaths worth of time. Gu Shan scanned it with his inner sight to find that it was around 1,300 square kilometers. Before he could retract his inner sight, a city suddenly appeared on top of the cloud. It really was a city covering an area of 1,200 square kilometers, with a mountain on one side and a river on the other. Inside, there was a group of glittering golden palaces, richly carved pillars and pillars. There were also dance pavilions, jade bridges, clear waters, colorful gardens, martial arts arenas, cultivation courtyards, and various other buildings. There were also countless treasures, spirit grasses, spirit flowers, weapons, scriptures, armors, and shields. All of them were giving off treasure auras. Gu Shan was stunned. One of the holy daughters sighed emotionally. No wonder the 16 of us were summoned to serve the heavenly Lord as soon as he arrived in this world. So it was because of such great blessings at this point, a golden carriage flew out from the city. The carriage landed in front of everyone and opened the door. 20 beautiful maids carried boxes of food in front of Gu Shan and bowed in unison. "Heavenly Lord," They all knelt down in front of Gu Qing Shan and opened the boxes of food. The 20 boxes of food contained 80 types of exquisite desserts, as well as 15 types of warm tea and alcohol. One of the maids said, "Heavenly Lord, this is your afternoon tea. Please enjoy it first. Dinner is also about to be prepared." Gu Qingshan looked through them one by one and sighed. "Her cooking skills are even better than mine," another maid said. "Heavenly Lord, if you want to learn cooking, there are a total of 8 billion Heaven Realm recipes. We can teach you all of them." Gu Qingshan observed the city, then glanced at the group of beautiful women around her and said nothing. A thoughtful and intelligent holy daughter spoke up. "Heavenly Lord, if you think that we are all women, you can always go out and make friends with other heavenly lords. If you want to become companions with those female heavenly lords, we can also disappear right away, or we can only be normal maids and not sleep with you. All of these are up to you," Gu Qingshan said. "Truthfully, I only have one thing I want to ask. Go ahead. You said that you would bring me to where the virtuous karmic flame purifying lotus flower is? Yes, is it closed today? It is not. Today we want to show you around the cloud sea layer. Very well, I want to go and measure my merit right now." A few moments later, Gu Qingshan arrived at where the virtuous karmic flame purifying lotus flower was. The so-called virtuous karmic flame purifying lotus flower looked like a giant lotus pod. Standing on top of it, Gu Qingshan asked, "So I could just wait here?" "Yes," one of the holy daughters smiled. "Heavenly Lord, just wait for a bit. You will soon know your merit." "All right, I understand," Gu Qingshan replied. "Just now I already asked. In the cloud sea layer, doing anything requires merit. So I only need to use up all my merit to return. This is very simple. Just like earning money and spending money. Earning money is very hard, but spending money is very simple. But first I need to know how much merit I have. That way I'll have a better idea." Gu Qingshan obediently stood on top of the lotus pod. After a while, a lotus seed suddenly jumped out from the pod. Pop! The lotus seed split open. A dignified voice came. "This person's merit cannot be measured. He can enjoy eternal bliss in Cloud Sea Realm." Chapter 1181. As the dignified voice spoke, a glowing white lotus landed in front of Gu Qingshan. A holy maiden said, "Heavenly Lord, quickly pluck the white lotus. With it, you can officially stay in Cloud Sea Realm." Gu Qingshan looked at the white lotus, a bit stunned. "My merit can't be measured? What do I do now?" Another holy maiden said, "This lotus is a merit fruit, specifically responsible for calculating the Heavenly Lord's merit. Of course, Heavenly Lord's merit cannot be measured. It is only responsible for proving that you are the Heavenly Lord of Cloud Sea Realm." The other holy maidens all laughed. Gu Qingshan didn't reach out to take the white lotus. He stepped on the lotus seed pod and said, "Then, please help me calculate my karma." The karmic fire purifying lotus flower slowly gave off a black-red light that circled back and forth. The holy maidens all became nervous. "Be careful, Heavenly Lord. Karma is a very powerful thing. Don't let it harm you," a holy maiden reminded him. Gu Qingshan smiled and said, "Don't worry. I value my life very much." A few moments later, a black lotus seed suddenly jumped out from the lotus seed pod and split open with a pop. The dignified voice spoke again. "This person has killed billions of living beings. His karma cannot be measured." The holy maidens all froze. This Heavenly Lord is so strange. Why can't his merit and karma be measured? What exactly did he do? Gu Qingshan silently nodded. A few moments later, a black lotus descended from the sky and landed in front of him. The black lotus and white lotus both floated in the air, silent and motionless. The holy maidens looked at Gu Qingshan and noticed his hesitation. A holy maiden cried out as she knelt on the ground, "Heavenly Lord, you have countless merits. Don't put yourself in danger." Gu Qingshan gently spoke. "I only want to know, has anyone ever been to the Yamastratum?" The holy maidens all shook their heads. Only one holy maiden spoke. "Among the holy maidens, I am the oldest, so I once saw someone take the black lotus and go to the Yamastratum." "And then?" Gu Qingshan asked. "On the second day, his dismembered corpse was tossed down from the Yama layer. Several heavenly lords worked on it for an entire day and night, but they still couldn't complete it, the holy daughter said. Gu Shan remained silent. The Tian Nu knelt down in front of Gu Shan and said in a soft voice, Cloud C Jia has endless blessings, and the Yi Mo level has to bear the pain of karma. Why is Tian Lord so stupid? All of us women are rare beauties in this world. We will obey the Heavenly Lord and serve the Heavenly Lord wholeheartedly every day. We guarantee that the Heavenly Lord will enjoy immortal blessings. The Heavenly Ladies knelt in front of Gu Shan and begged, Heavenly Lord, please cherish your life and stay in Cloud C. Gu Shan looked up at the dark sky and suddenly smiled. I'm sorry. He looked at the girls and said apologetically, Someone is waiting for me to return. The earth sword appeared from the void of space, held in Gu Shan's hand. He didn't care about the black and white lotuses or the girls as he flew straight up to the sky. Halfway there was movement in the dark sky. A deafening voice resounded from all directions. To the Yama layer, you need the Karma Lotus to pass. Gu Shan stopped and loudly asked, You mean the Black Lotus? The deafening voice replied, That is correct, but I forgot. What do I do now? Gu Shan asked. Go back and get it. The deafening voice replied. Then can you wait for me for a bit? Gu Shan asked. Quickly. The deafening voice replied. After I get it, I'll probably need to take a bath and eat some food. Can you wait that long? Go get it. Won't you get impatient if you keep waiting for me like this? You need to get the Black Lotus to pass. I'll go get it and bring you something to eat. What do you want to eat? Bring me the Black Lotus. Got it. Gu Shan's figure flashed. He went through the void of space and directly appeared at the top of the night sky. The earth sword gave off intense moonlight sword phantoms and slashed upwards. Boom! The sky was cut open. The darkness slowly receded. Boundless light descended upon Gu Shan, making him look like a deity. I'm such an idiot, talking to a spell for so long, Gu Shan muttered to himself. He flew straight into the sky. Everything around him was vast. Boundless clouds covered everything. Gu Shan kept flying upwards and quickly left the layer of clouds. It was completely silent, with only a small black dot at the end of his vision. It was a dilapidated pavilion. A single person stood in the pavilion with his hands clasped behind his back, looking down at the sea of clouds below. As soon as Gu Shan appeared, he was already clapping and laughing. As expected of the Huang Quan Devil King, reaching this place so easily, as Gu Shan's inner sight scanned through the other party, his expression turned serious. The other party was wearing a mask, a Yiksha mask. The man took out a short tea table, 2 cushions, and a tea set. He sat down first and skillfully brewed the tea. I thought the sea of clouds would be able to trap the Devil King, so I was a bit slow. I'm truly ashamed. Allow me to toast the Devil King with this cup of tea. Gu Shan slowly flew over and landed in the ruined pavilion. He sat down on the other cushion and clasped his fist. Thank you for your hospitality. May I ask why you were waiting for me here? The man lowered his head to brew the tea and casually replied, My master ordered me to come here. Your master? Gu Shan asked. The Huang Quan fragment world was originally used as a prison to imprison criminals. It had always been safe and secure, but the Devil King broke through the hell and released countless criminals. Although this wasn't a big deal, in the end, it was my master's doing, causing him to lose a bit of face. Gu Shan sighed. Originally, I was crying and screaming that I didn't want to go to Huang Quan, but someone insisted on transporting me there. To save my own life, I had no choice but to find a few helpers. Please understand. The man went silent briefly, then smiled. I'm a bit curious. How did the Devil King notice that the sea of clouds was an illusion? He pushed a cup of tea in front of Gu Shan and said, Please enlighten us, Devil King, so that we can improve ourselves. What about this sea of clouds illusion? Gu Shan asked. The man nodded. It was my master's private plot of land, so there's a bit of profit. Gu Shan sincerely replied. I didn't notice that it was an illusion. I really wanted to return, the man asked. Because someone was waiting for you? That's right, Gu Qingshan replied. The man questioned further. To return, you're willing to ignore such a surpassing realm? It's called a surpassing realm, but it's actually a cage. Why is that? The so-called cultivation is to advance bravely, to go against the flow, to search for the truth of the world, to use your own will to create your own destiny, not to indulge in pleasure and stagnate. Gu Qingshan's tone became heavier. Every cultivator, once they decide to stop at the cloud realm, they're already unworthy of the word cultivation. The man went silent for a while, then swung his sleeve. The sea of clouds outside the ruined pavilion scattered. Countless cultivators hovered in the air, their bodies pierced by thorny vines. GG. The sound of blood flowing was very faint, but when countless of these noises overlapped each other, it became quite terrifying. Strangely, all of these cultivators had smiles on their faces, as if they were in some sort of dream. The man spoke. The Yama heavenly realm has long since been destroyed. Only this ruined pavilion that we're sitting on right now, my master had used a few methods to modify this place so that the cultivators who came to face their tribulation would feel at home. Of course, as long as they stay here, they will have to use their flesh, spirit energy, and soul points as payment. With the vines here, this will become a long process. Everything they have will be used to its fullest potential. Gu Qingshan's eyes flickered a bit and asked, White Lotus? Merit fruits? The Devil King is wise. The so-called merit fruits are indeed manifested from the seeds of the demon spider vines, the man praised. While they were talking, one of the cultivators was suddenly sucked dry. The vines scattered, allowing the corpse to fall down from the clouds. Gu Qingshan activated the Devil King Warden Rod in her thoughts sea and lightly touched the corpse. No soul. Even this person's soul had been sucked dry. Look, this great Lord of Heaven had finished enjoying his blessings and returned to his own world. The man sighed and continued. That's right. The Lords of Heaven who shared his ideals even held a banquet for 3 days and 3 nights to send him off. What a perfect life. Sometimes, when I think about it, perhaps he really did have good karma. He waved his hand. The sea of clouds quickly closed up. Devil King, now let us talk business. The man's tone became serious. Please go ahead, Gu Qingshan replied. The man continued. Your ability is very unique. You can watch over hell for us. This way, we can save quite a bit of manpower. A mask appeared on the table. This mask was engraved with complicated runes that gave off powerful magical power, but it was completely different from the other wraith masks that Gu Qingshan had seen before. Master said that if you can pass through the sea of clouds, you'll have some abilities that can be used, the man continued. Wear this mask and become my master's servant. The matter of the Huang Quan chaos will be forgotten. Gu Qingshan's gaze fell onto the mask and doubtfully asked, Why are there only runes on this mask and not wraith? The man scoffed. Of course a servant has to be restricted. Of course they can't be compared to the masters. All right, I can see that you're a smart person. Don't miss this chance to live. The man pushed the mask in front of Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan gladly reached his hand out to take the mask, but then stopped. He pulled his hand back, looked at the man, and asked, You're your master's servant? The man nodded. I am. Gu Qingshan clasped her fist and sincerely spoke. There's something I've never done before, and I won't do it in the future, so I don't know the truth behind it. I've always been confused about it. Please enlighten me, sir. The man was surprised and asked, What is it? Gu Qingshan asked, May I ask, sir, what is it like to be a dog? Chapter 1182. What does it feel like to be a dog? The man repeated. Gu Qingshan nodded and seriously looked at him. Mist drifted into the air. It was the boiling water of a teapot. The man clenched his fist. When the atmosphere was at its peak, he suddenly let go of her. Devil King, you do have some spirit, but unfortunately, your knowledge is shallow and you don't know what's good for you. The man regretfully shook his head and spoke with a tone of arrogance. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised, but his heart became even more solemn. This fearless attitude. Could it be he has a treasure that can guarantee him victory? Gu Qingshan immediately let go of the seal, leaned back on the chair, and crossed his legs. He looked at the sea of clouds, silently thinking of a solution, but also showed a regretful expression. Truthfully, it's not that this humble one doesn't know what's good for him, but this mask is full of runes. This humble one really can't wear it. The mask was still on the table, its surface full of runes, but Gu Qingshan used her spirit energy to move it back to the man. The man stayed silent, then reached his hand out to touch the mask. The Devil King's words were out of his expectations. His killing intent subsided a bit, but he was still a bit confused and couldn't help but ask, "Why can't you wear it even though it's full of runes, Devil King? Is there something you can't tell me?" "That's true," Gu Qingshan admitted. The man pondered, his killing intent subsided a bit more, then spoke. "Devil King, why don't you tell me?" Gu Qingshan answered with a serious expression. "I have trypophobia." The man froze. Intense killing intent exuded from his body, sweeping through the surroundings like a violent storm. Gu Qingshan sighed. "It's true. If you give me your mask, I might consider it." The man's mask didn't have a single rune on it. Instead, it was made out of black and red ink, with a pair of ferocious fangs, a nose pierced by a metal ring, and a pair of drooping eyes. But there were holes for the eyes, revealing a pair of murky pupils. The man put his hand on the table and slowly explained, "Every time a Huang Quan deity is killed, the divine armament of Huang Quan will search for a new master on its own. This is the law of Huang Quan. Even we can't do anything about it. It's very troublesome." He used his hand to lightly knock on the table. "But if I don't kill you today, I won't be able to live with myself. As a servant, I won't be able to live with myself either." Gu Qingshan smiled and casually said, "Then let's do it." That person also smiled and said, "Come on." Their eyes met. Gu Qingshan's body was suddenly enveloped by a layer of bloody light. Strands of bloody light peeled off from his body and flew behind that person, condensing into a surging ball of blood. Gu Qingshan could feel the blood flowing out her body. She reached for her sword and thrust it forward. One sword realm. This sword strike contained all of Gu Qingshan's power. It was his most powerful strike. The entire pavilion collapsed with a loud rumble. The man sat still, but a pair of golden chopsticks appeared in his hands. The swift and fierce sword light had already reached his body, but it suddenly dispersed. The sword froze in midair. Gu Qingshan's sword strike was caught by the chopsticks. Gu Qingshan tried to pull the sword back, but couldn't. A woo-woo sound. Another sword flew out from the void of space, aiming for the man's head. As the sword was about to touch the man's mask, it was caught by a pair of golden chopsticks. This was the afterimage of a pair of golden chopsticks. With a single thought, Gu Qingshan summoned the Chaoyin sword. This time, before the sword phantoms could even shine, it was already caught by the chopsticks, unable to move. Gu Qingshan lost control of the three swords, unable to use any of her swordsmanship. "Devil King, you're going to die," the man calmly said. Gu Qingshan stood on the table with a confused expression. His blood continued to flow out, condensing into a ball of blood behind the man. Victory and defeat had been decided. Gu Qingshan staggered and sat down on the table, sighed, and dejectedly asked, "My inner sight has covered the entire area, but I didn't see you doing anything, so why are you able to absorb my blood out of thin air?" The man smiled. "Every Yiksha mask has a guy's hex that is guaranteed to be hit. Each one is different. This one of mine was specially arranged by my master. It can absorb blood from thin air. There you can rest in peace now," Gu Qingshan continued. "Since you were able to come to the Yama King realm, your cultivation shouldn't be much higher than mine. Those three strikes just now were my full power. So why were you able to catch my sword with a pair of chopsticks?" The man remained silent until Gu Qingshan knelt down on one knee on the table, his blood slowly being sucked dry, and chuckled. "The power of a Yiksha soul artifact lies in its causality law. This pair of chopsticks of mine is made of pure gold, infused with the causality law, a soul artifact specially granted to me by my master. With this pair of chopsticks, no matter what kind of technique you use, you won't be able to resist within 3 strikes." While saying so, the man stared closely at Gu Qingshan. The bloody glow around Gu Qing-shan's body began to surge as more and more of his blood was being sucked away, to the point where he couldn't even hold his sword anymore. Using pure gold as a pair of chopsticks, how extravagant, Gu Qing-shan sighed. The man estimated the rate at which his blood was being sucked and happily spoke. Just now, the Devil King asked me how it felt to be a dog. I'll let the Devil King know. This mask and golden chopsticks are my answer, Gu Qing-shan nodded. Good answer. The more pleased the man was, the more he spoke. Although this one is a servant, other than following the master's orders, my daily life isn't any worse than a real Yama King realm. After all, we've conquered countless parallel worlds. That's right. Not only did you destroy those worlds, you even pushed them into the eternal abyss, causing us to be unable to sleep well every night. Gu Qing-shan followed up. The man chuckled. He spoke with a regretful tone. How regretful? How regretful? You're about to die now, Devil King. You can't even be a dog anymore. Let me ask you, how does that feel to you? Gu Qing-shan thought for a bit, then muttered, Guy's hex always hits. Soul artifacts contain causality law. This is already ridiculously powerful. I'm guessing that your world must have fused with a lot of Wraith Realm fragments. The man spoke in a low voice. We've obtained 70% of the Wraith Realm fragments. Devil King, it's time to send you on your way. He reached his hand out, turned it into a sharp, ghostly claw, and grabbed towards Gu Qing-shan. This claw would directly tear Gu Qing-shan's body to pieces. Ho! A powerful gust of wind swept through the air. The ghostly claw couldn't grab anything. Gu Qing-shan had vanished. The man froze in place, muttering after a long while, How strange, she's clearly dying, yet she still has the strength to evade? At the very next moment, heaven and earth turned upside down. The small table, the ruined pavilion, the sea of clouds, everything around them suddenly disappeared. In the blink of an eye, everything reappeared. The man found himself sitting where he was. The small table was still there. Steam silently rose from the tea. Everything around him was unaffected, while the Huang Quan Devil King was still sitting across from him, silently watching him. The man paused briefly, then asked, An illusion? Gu Qing-shan shook her head. The man waited a bit longer, only to see Gu Qing-shan staying silent without saying anything. He slowly spoke. The Devil King's abilities are truly unexpected, but when it's time to die, you still have to die. Gu Qing-shan's body was once again enveloped in a bloody glow. Guy's hex, blood drain. At almost the same time, Gu Qing-shan abruptly wielded the earth sword and stabbed forward. The man still held out a pair of golden chopsticks. No matter how the sword changed its stance, it still clashed with the golden chopsticks. The blinding sword phantoms on the sword instantly faded as it was firmly caught by the golden chopsticks. The Devil King is truly foolish. Before he even finished, the sword abruptly gave off blinding arcs of lightning. Lightning thaumaturgy, dream jolt. That person was immediately frozen in place, unable to move at all. 5 seconds later, Gu Qing-shan's gaze turned sharp. From the void of space, another sword abruptly appeared and stabbed towards the man's chest. The Heaven Sword. Before the sword chi could reach him, the golden chopsticks suddenly gave off 2 faint images to receive the sword. This was the power of causality. It would definitely be able to stop any attack. Unfortunately, Gu Qing-shan's sword went through the faint images of the golden chopsticks and pierced straight through the man's chest. Another sword pierced through the man's back. Secret art. Swallow returns. Impossible. The man was in complete disbelief, struggling to speak. These are Sir's golden chopsticks. Nothing can pass through. Gu Qing-shan casually replied. You only know that your Sir is powerful, but you don't know that gold's conductivity is ranked 3rd among metals, second only to copper and higher than aluminum. The man opened his eyes wide, speechless. Finally, he pointed at the sword in his chest. The golden chopsticks would definitely be able to stop 3 attacks. He really didn't know why the golden chopsticks didn't work this time. Gu Qing-shan shook her head. I'm not telling you. The man coughed up some blood, but it was blocked by the mask and flowed down his neck. His head tilted to the side. Chapter 1183. The man collapsed to the ground, blood flowing down his neck. The Yaksha mask on his face instantly turned into countless sprites of light that scattered with the wind. His appearance was very ordinary, with a blade scar on his face. If it weren't for the fact that this scar was so obvious, I wouldn't have noticed anything special about this person. Gu Shan shook his head, put the earth sword away, and took out the Devil King Warden Rod instead. The rod pierced straight through the man's chest. Soul Dispersion activate. A faint chewing sound could be heard coming from the Devil King Warden Rod. Gu Shan felt a bit reassured. The other party's items were truly too powerful, so I couldn't help but be on guard. I first used Parallel Dream to create a parallel world to take the other party on a trip. What happened in the parallel world didn't actually happen in reality. Gu Shan then used the Lightning Thaumaturgy Dream Jolt, as well as the Heaven's Swords, Heaven's Choice. Dream Jolt stopped the other party. As for Heaven's Choice, Heaven's Choice, at any point in time where you hit a certain entity, you can immediately follow up with the same attack for 3, 6, or 9 times. The golden chopsticks could only block 3 attacks, so they were naturally broken. Now that even the soul he was dealing with had been destroyed, Gu Shan finally felt that he had truly won. Wait, there's still something else. Gu Shan suddenly turned to look at the pair of golden chopsticks. The golden chopsticks obediently flew in front of him and hovered there. Gu Shan raised his eyebrows in surprise. "You're trying to recognize me as your master?" he asked. The golden chopsticks moved up and down, indicating that they were nodding. Gu Shan pondered. "Very well. You're so powerful. A causality law weapon. Of course I'm willing to accept you." Saying so, Gu Shan swung his sword without hesitation. The golden chopsticks had already flown up to attack him. Key. A clear sound of collision resounded from afar. After that sound, there was no more silence. Silence. Gu Shan turned to the golden chopsticks. The golden chopsticks had stopped her sword. A mere pair of chopsticks was even more powerful than the person from before, able to fight to a draw against a sword cultivator of Gu Shan's caliber. What kind of treasure was this? Gu Shan's gaze turned to the combat notification on the war god. UI, frowny face, using Earth's Choice to destroy this thing requires 3 million soul points. He couldn't afford to kill them. 3 million soul points. Even if he could afford to kill them, he couldn't. It was too wasteful. Gu Shan held the sword in one hand and pointed at the golden chopsticks with the other. She scolded. "Is this the attitude of recognizing a master?" The golden chopsticks said angrily, "Hiss, hiss, 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 hiss." Gu Shan felt a little helpless. The chopsticks said that he attacked first and that the chopsticks were only defending themselves. Speaking of which, the man and the chopsticks seemed to have moved at the same time. However, the other party insisted on acting shamelessly and insisted on saying so. Gu Shan couldn't do anything about it. When he fought, he never brought any video playback equipment. In the future, it would be better to pretend to be one. Gu Shan retracted her thoughts and spoke with a stern expression. "Chopsticks, are you truly willing to become my weapon, for better or for worse, for better or for worse, for better or for worse? When I need you the most, will you stay by my side for the rest of your life, forever and ever?" The chopsticks trembled a bit, seemingly unsure of what to say. Finally, it tapped the end of the chopsticks and uttered, "See." This meant that it had agreed. Gu Shan smiled and said, "Come, close your eyes. Let's make a vow. Key." The sword clashed with the chopsticks again. This time, the chopsticks' attack was exceptionally fierce. Gu Shan had to hold the earth sword with all his might to stop it. "CSI." The chopsticks loudly complained. "Bullshit, you were the one who attacked first this time." Gu Shan also loudly refuted. "I know you're very good at blocking, but if you want to become my weapon, I'll have to cut off most of the spells and items on your body." The golden chopsticks paused, seemingly hesitant. Gu Shan glared at it. According to what that person said just now, the golden chopsticks were a treasure bestowed by his master. This type of Wraith Soul artifact must have countless tricks up its sleeve, perhaps even powers that Gu Shan doesn't understand. Gu Shan didn't dare to be careless. With a single thought, the heaven sword appeared from the void of space. While blocking the chopsticks, Gu Shan said, "The weapons of my world all have to go through this ritual in order to recognize a master. Come, let my sword cut you. I guarantee it won't hurt." As soon as she said so, the heaven sword turned into a chilling sword phantom and attacked from behind the chopsticks. This time, the golden chopsticks couldn't hold on anymore. In the end, it's an ownerless weapon. How could it deal with a person and two swords? In that split second, the golden chopsticks disappeared into the void of space with a sha, disappearing without a trace. It was now that Gu Shan sighed in relief. He muttered, "Even a pair of chopsticks is so treacherous. This wraith realm is truly powerful. I really don't want to get involved." After resting for a bit, Gu Shan flew out from the ruined pavilion and hovered above the sea of clouds. At this point, the entirety of the Yama heavenly realm is almost completely destroyed. How exactly am I going to survive this tribulation? Gu Shan thought for a bit, then glanced at the ruined pavilion. This is the final structure of the Yama heavenly realm. Will the tribulation end as soon as I destroy it? As Gu Shan was about to swing his sword towards the ruined pavilion, he suddenly stopped. A pleading voice resounded in his ears. After listening for a while, Gu Shan understood. The ruined pavilion was the final structure of the Yama heavenly realm. The remnant will of the Yama heavenly realm resided here. The one who spoke just now was the remnant will of the Yama heavenly realm. If Gu Shan destroyed the ruined pavilion, this world would be completely destroyed, and the remnant will of the Yama heavenly realm would also vanish. So it had no choice but to come out and beg. Gu Shan silently sensed himself. After skipping the official world offering ceremony, he obtained a certain ability, which was the natural ability to communicate with other worlds and win their affinity. This allowed him to determine that the other party was indeed the remnant will of the world. Gu Shan thought briefly, then said, "I don't intend to leave this world for the wraiths. You can either come with me, or think of another way to leave." The voice in his ears became hurried. Gu Shan nodded. "Very well. My contains a world of its own, as well as the remnant will of another world. You could be my companions." His gaze fell onto the ruined pavilion and used his iris technique. Instantly, the ruined pavilion disappeared without a trace. As the vessel of the remnant will of the world, it had been taken into Gu Shan's iris technique. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god. UI, frowny face your world technique, was created from the laws of the inner plane, the power of primal chaos, earth, water, fire, wind, iris sword technique, and world origin power. Now, your world origin power has been strengthened. The world created by your iris technique will become more realistic and stable. Gu Shan couldn't help but ask, what if it becomes more realistic and stable? Still to be observed, unknown for now, the war god UI replied. Gu Shan only saw his remaining soul points flicker a bit as 200 were deducted. More lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI, frowny face, as you've obtained the entire remnant of the Yama King realm. Your Yama King rel tribulation has ended. You may complete this tribulation at any time. The UI will help you return to your original world. When you return to your original world, you will officially become Yama King Realm Cultivator. Gu Shan could only ignore the fact that her soul points were deducted earlier and begrudgingly let it go. But isn't it a natural thing to return after tribulation? Normally, the laws of heaven and earth would silently transport a cultivator back to their original world, right? But Gu Shan didn't dare to ask. If she did, she would know that her soul points had been deducted. Fine, I'll return first and think about other things later. Gu Shan made up her mind and was about to leave when she suddenly recalled something. He looked down at the vast sea of clouds. Within the sea of clouds, countless cultivators were being entangled by vines, slumbering in a blissful dreamland. According to what the man said just now, this was his master's personal plot of land, used to earn some income. In other words, These cultivators were his master's farmland. Nothing but profit. Gu Shan went silent for a bit, then suddenly sighed. You only have yourselves to blame. How pitiful and hateful. Not to mention, cutting off a person's wealth is the same as killing their parents. I shouldn't have saved you. But for living beings, no matter how great their sins are, even if they enter the 18 layers of hell, there will still be a day of redemption. But you can't even protect your souls very well. I'll help you this once. I hope you'll behave yourselves from now on. A gust of wind blew. The sea of clouds scattered. All the vines were reduced to dust by the sword-infused wind. Without waiting for the cultivators to wake up, Gu Shan's mind moved and vanished from the void of space. Chapter 1184. Night. A barren wasteland. A cluster of heaven's flames descended and heavily struck the ground, creating a large crater. A few moments later, a pair of pure gold chopsticks flew out from the crater and flew through the air again. It passed through one destroyed world after another, all the way until it reached a world with living beings, then continued to fly forward. The world was boundless. After an unknown amount of time, it finally returned to its master. The golden chopsticks trembled and silently fell onto the table. It knew that its master was currently in a bad mood, so it said nothing and simply laid there. A few moments later, the master's voice finally resounded. Someone dared to kill my servant. How interesting silence. None of the numerous wraiths and servants on the gray-white peak dared to speak. The master's voice resounded again. Men, summon the soul. I want to ask what the Huang Quan Devil King said. One of the servants began to form a hand seal to perform spell. Time slowly passed. This servant was sweating profusely, continuously using various soul-summoning techniques, but still couldn't summon his dead servant's soul. He had used 53 different techniques, but none of them worked. When he was trying the 54th, he noticed that his body was gone. Only a pile of bones remained on the ground, while his soul remained standing. All of a sudden, a long tongue reached out from the void of space, coiled around his soul, and disappeared without a trace. Silence. No one in this world dared to breathe, afraid that the sound of their breathing would draw the master's attention. The master's voice resounded again. How useless. Someone else. The servants no longer dared to move. A burly wraith stepped forward and began to form a hand seal to perform a spell. He tried 3 different techniques, but none of them worked. After a bit of thought, he knelt on the ground and reported, Sir, this humble servant has tried, but I truly cannot summon the soul. Ah? The master's voice dragged out the last syllable before resounding again. Out of everyone's expectations, the master didn't seem to be angry this time, instead a bit interested. Even you can't summon the soul. Indeed interesting, very interesting. Let me try it myself. Vast laws of heaven and earth gathered on the peak of the mountain, then slowly scattered. Soul summoning failed. The master's voice was calm, without any hint of anger. At the very next moment, the entire world began to change. Countless stars descended from above, landing on the mountain peak. Found it as the voice faded. All the strange phenomena disappeared as if they had never existed. The world returned to darkness. A faint fluorescent light lit up. Incredible. No wonder you can't summon the soul. It turns out that the soul has already been scattered, leaving only the last bit of spiritual light floating in the primal chaos. That's why I need to use space-time techniques, soul growth techniques, and body reconstruction techniques. Only then can I restore him. The evil spirit was still kneeling on the ground, quietly listening to the Lord's detailed count. He cupped his fists and said, Lord's magic power is boundless. This subordinate admires you. There's no need to admire me. I won't do that. The evil ghost gathered his courage and asked why. A hand reached out and gently extinguished the faint light. This was equivalent to a complete end, returning to the primal chaos, unable to return. That Lord's voice rang out again. It's just a dog, not worth my effort. If I want to know what happened, I just need to use my chopsticks to cast the light-shadow reversal technique. The golden chopsticks had been lying on the table. When it heard its master's words, It knew that it had to appear. It flew up and suddenly released a ray of light. The scene of Gu Qin and the servant's conversation slowly played out in front of him. Then came the battle. The sword covered in lightning struck the golden chopsticks and instantly froze the servant in place. The Huang Quan Devil King continued. You only know that your lord is powerful, but you don't know that gold's electrical conductivity is ranked third among metals, second only to copper and higher than aluminum. The Wraith's master had been lightly tapping the table with his hand, then abruptly stopped. The Wraiths all remained silent. Their gazes were focused on the golden chopsticks. Electrical conductivity? The golden chopsticks were top-notch soul artifacts. Each time their master bestowed them, they had always been the ones to take the initiative in battle, never once losing. Who would have thought these chopsticks would conduct electricity? The Wraiths continued to watch the ray of light. The servant pointed at the sword in front of his chest and made a questioning gesture. The Huang Quan Devil King shook his head. I'm not telling you. The Devil King and the golden chopsticks ambushed each other before the chopsticks finally escaped. The ray of light slowly faded away. The Wraith's master pondered for a bit, then slowly spoke. This Devil King understands the structure and relationship of all things, using lightning to break the causality law of my golden chopsticks. What a wondrous thought. Furthermore, the Huang Quan Devil King's divine power is quite decent, capable of thoroughly suppressing those felons imprisoned in hell, as well as ordering them around when needed, then send someone else to persuade them. He didn't finish his words. A streak of flame suddenly appeared from the void of space, landing in front of the Wraith's master. He received the streak of flame and silently checked its contents. The atmosphere abruptly changed. Boundless killing intent manifested out of nowhere, enveloping every Wraith, not even giving them the strength to stand still. The Lord had suddenly become angry. Clatter, clatter. Everyone knelt down, not even daring to breathe too loudly. The Lord's voice resounded. They say that cutting off a person's wealth is the same as killing their parents. I thought this Devil King to be a smart one, but he did something unnecessary and ruined my private plot this time. The Wraiths understood. This humble servant is untalented, but I am willing to serve the Lord. Master, please let me go. I will definitely cut him to pieces. Lord, I will definitely make him suffer all the torture in the world. Then eat him up, they hurriedly declared. The Wraith's master impatiently replied, Enough. All the voices disappeared. I want to kill this bastard. Let everyone see his suffering. Azure Dragon, kill that Devil King for me. Drag his soul around the world of Huang Quan and intimidate the Wraith gods as soon as he said so. A dragon's roar resounded from the sky. The surging green light was like an aurora circling in the night sky. A few moments later, the gigantic and graceful figure descended from the sky, circling around the mountain once. Lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and wind howled. The Wraiths had no choice but to stick close to the ground to prevent themselves from being blown away by the wind. Yes, dash, the heavy voice resounded throughout the world, causing the ground to tremble. At another location, Gu Qin opened her eyes on the ship. A line of glowing text appeared on the war god UI, frowny face you've broken through to Yama King realm. From now on, you're a Yama King realm cultivator. Your spirit energy has increased by 70%. Gu Qin stood up and sensed it. Indeed, her spirit energy had greatly increased. In a normal battle, the more spirit energy a cultivator had, the more powerful their attacks would be. The total amount of spirit energy also determined a cultivator's endurance in battle. For that reason, spirit energy was very important to a cultivator. But it wasn't the only deciding factor. Because on the battlefield, a cultivator's ability to adapt to the situation, the power of their equipment and treasure tools, their own determination and willpower, as well as tactics and ambushes and so on, all of these factors could determine the outcome of a battle. Why is everyone afraid of sword cultivators? Because sword cultivators don't care about their lives, and they're the best at killing. Gu Qin paced back and forth inside the ship, a bit hesitant. Should I continue to break through? After reaching Yama King realm, He could sense that the rate at which he absorbed the power of the magic dragon had also increased. The magic dragon was the most powerful soul artifact of the bygone-era humanity, but unfortunately, its body was taken over by the Wraith's soul, forcing the bygone-era humanity to give up on this powerful weapon. How could a mere Yama King realm cultivator possibly compare to the power it contained? Gu Qingshan had estimated that if she hadn't received the support of the Earth God's dance and the blessings of the past worlds, it would have taken a very, very long time for her to fully absorb the power of the magic dragon. So this was actually a chance? Should I continue to break through? Or should I head to the Bramblebird Kingdom first to meet up with everyone else and prepare for war? While Gu Qingshan was thinking, a few more lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI, frowny face, special reminder. You must continue to break through in order to fully absorb the power of the magic dragon. Once you fully absorb the power of the magic dragon, you will be able to grasp a thaumaturgy. Once you fully absorb the power of the magic dragon, you will be able to grasp a thaumaturgy. Gu Qingshan understood that the War God UI was waiting for him here. He said, "All right, I'll give you soul power. Tell me, what kind of mystique is it?" He said, "All right, I'll give you soul points. Tell me, what exactly is this thaumaturgy?" Gu Qingshan's eyebrows twitched and asked, "Why did you charge 100 more this time?" The War God UI deducted another 200 soul points and answered, "Because this answer is worth it." Gu Qingshan helplessly said, "All right, tell me, what is this thaumaturgy?" He lost another 300 soul points. Gu Qingshan was furious. "It's the same question. Why did I have to pay him again?" Fortunately, he was smarter this time and kept his mouth shut without saying a single word. Seeing that he didn't say anything, the War God UI guided him frowny face. "Once you've fully absorbed the power of the magic dragon, you'll be able to grasp a thaumaturgy." Gu Qingshan kept his mouth shut. He kept his mouth shut and said nothing. After a while, the War God UI reluctantly answered, "Transform into the magic dragon." Chapter 1185. Transform into magic dragon. These words seemed to contain some sort of power that caused Gu Qingshan's spirit to feel refreshed. If I could truly become as strong as magic dragon, I wouldn't need to spend so much time and effort searching for all sorts of favorable factors. I can just fight against the Soul Shrieker first before anything else. The information I get from direct combat is far more valuable and reliable than any other method. If I can transform into magic dragon, Gu Qingshan would feel much more confident. At that time, even if I can't win against the Soul Shrieker, I would at least be able to escape. Then, Gu Qingshan clenched his fist and began to think about breaking through. The power of magic dragon is so immense that I can only quickly absorb it by breaking through. At this point, there's no need to think about returning to the Bramblebird Kingdom. Breaking through right now is the right thing to do. Gu Qingshan took out a cushion, lit a stick of spirit incense, prepared some pills, then slowly paced around the ship. He recalled all of his experiences ever since he started cultivating, as well as the many mysteries of swordsmanship and Tao, confirming and summarizing them. The Yama King realm doesn't have early, middle, or late realms. There's only one realm. And cultivators at Mahasvara King realm are said to be unimaginable, incomparable to Yama King or realm cultivator. The Mahasvara King realm is known as the Heavenly King wherever he goes. Above this realm is the Sumeru Lord realm. None of the cultivation worlds within the 900 million world layers had any written records of this realm. People only know of the term Sumeru Lord for cultivators, but there isn't any detailed information about Sumeru Lord. There are only a few unsubstantiated rumors. Frowny face, the Mahasvara King, has 48 dependents, while the Sumeru Lord has 120 followers. Both of them were summoned by prayers without asking. From this point of view, it was easy for people to think about what exactly dependents and followers were. There was another question. What would happen if a female cultivator managed to become Mahasvara King or a Sumeru Lord? People couldn't help but think about this, but there was also an inexplicable meaning to it. Through word of mouth, this rumor quickly spread throughout the 900 million world layers. Even Ji Luo wanted to be the first to speak to Gu Shan, wanting to be her dependent. As for what exactly happened between Mahesvara King and Sumeru Lord, no one knew. It was strange. Gu Shan had a conclusion about this. In the bygone era, a human from a parallel world escaped to the space vortex and built a world here. After something happened to Magic Dragon, they left in a hurry. After that, the Protoss replaced them and continued to create the world. Because the divine race wanted to rule over the primordial heaven realm, and the divine race themselves only had the strength of a paragon realm cultivator, they had destroyed all knowledge regarding how to break through to the next realm. From then on, the cultivators were only left with some scattered rumors. For example, the Yama heavenly realm was a tribulation of good karma. For example, the dependents and followers of Mahesvara King and Sumeru Lord. True knowledge wasn't passed down within the 900 million world layers of the space vortex. From the looks of it, the strength of the living beings of the 900 million world layers has been completely suppressed. Gu Shan's thoughts turned. Perhaps only those parallel worlds have complete cultivator inheritances. Gu Shan continued to ponder. Within the 900 million world layers, all cultivators know about the existence of the Yama heavenly realm, but no one has ever reached it. Because of that, the cultivators I met at the Yama heavenly realm most likely didn't come from the 900 million world layers of the space vortex. They came from the parallel worlds outside of the space vortex. Those were truly naturally formed worlds. Then, how can the living beings of the 900 million world layers break through the shackles of the divine race and continue to grow stronger? The eternal abyss is a shortcut, but the eternal abyss is too exclusive. As soon as they can adapt to the power of the abyss, they will immediately die. In the past, when Lin and her companions explored the abyss, other than herself who adapted to the power of the abyss and survived, all of her companions died. Gu Shan shook her head. The abyss isn't the best path to become stronger. Did the bygone era humans leave behind any inheritances? Other than Lin, only the strongest combatant of the bygone era left behind a dance for himself. In the old man's words, this dance was the greatest discovery they had made in the space turbulence. Because of that, the living being sacrificial dance wasn't their inheritance. If that's the case, the bygone era human's inheritance was cut off. What a headache. Then, is there a way to make the living beings of the void grow stronger? Gu Shan began to recall everything that she went through during the Age of Old. The divine race shouldn't have the ability to tamper with order. The Soul Shrieker was wary of order, so it destroyed order in the Age of Old. But I managed to save Lady Black Sea from a fragment of a parallel world. But Lady Black Sea was once again killed by the Soul Shrieker in the world of the Spire Guardians. At the time, she lost a lot of her powers, and even her card was left behind in Calming Soul Country. This also proved how wary the Soul Shrieker was of her. That's why saving Lady Black Sea and activating World's Apocalypse Online, Human Legion, was the correct path for all living beings to grow stronger. Other than that, if they could go to the real worlds and search for high-level cultivation scriptures, magic manuscripts, martial arts scriptures, that would also be a solution. But no one knew how to go there. Two paths: activate World's Apocalypse Online, Human Legion, or find a way to search for scriptures in parallel worlds. Gu Shan thought for a bit and couldn't help but feel a bit fortunate. I have the power of the Magic Dragon, so I can skip these two paths and break through first. The only problem right now is that I've offended the Wraith Realm. A Heaven's Tribulation is a very troublesome matter to begin with, so if the Wraiths come for revenge at this time, it would become even more dangerous. But I can't just not break through just because I'm afraid of running into the Wraiths. The longer I wait, the more prepared the other party will be. I might as well break through right now. The Wraith Realm might not even be able to react in time. At this point, Gu Shan felt that his condition had been adjusted to its peak. He sat down on the cushion, took out a pill, put it in his mouth, and officially began his breakthrough. Protective thought, aura, forgetfulness, inner sight fused with the void, disregarding the birth and death of all things, and settled down. A black stream of air manifested around Gu Qingshan's body and quickly spread throughout the entire ship. The power of the magic dragon. It manifested as a black stream of air, then slowly turned into a vast tidal wave of power. The pure essence of the magic dragon's power flowed back and forth within the tidal wave, slowly turning into a source of power that strengthened Gu Qingshan's body, soul, and spirit bit by bit. For the immense power of the magic dragon, this transformation was extremely slow and minute. On the contrary, Gu Qingshan felt that the speed at which he was becoming stronger was too fast. It felt like he was riding a wild horse that had broken free from its reins, galloping at full speed towards the path to heaven. Before he knew it, an hour had gone by. Gu Qingshan could feel the speed at which he was becoming stronger, slowly slowing down. This wasn't because he had used up too much of the power of the magic dragon, but rather because too much of his power had gathered at a certain point, unable to break through any further. Indeed, this was the peak of the Yama King realm. After this step, the Mahasvara heaven tribulation would arrive. Gu Qingshan regained his composure, held his breath, and charged forward with all his might. His power abruptly surged, immediately triggering the origin of law within the void of space. Lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI. Your strength has already reached the upper limit of the Yama King realm, and it's still growing. You are breaking through to Mahasvara King realm. Special attention. The system will provide a piece of information that has never been provided within the 900 million world layers of the void. The Mahasvara tribulation is a joint tribulation with the Sumeru Lord tribulation. This tribulation transcends the limits of time and space. It will be carried out at the same time as the cultivators of the various cultivation worlds. The degree of danger is far greater than before. Remember this. Take care of yourself. Don't let your guard down. Gu Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. What did that mean? He was clearly transcending the Mahasvara heavenly tribulation. So why was the Mount Meru tribulation involved? But the heavenly tribulation didn't give him time to think. In 5 seconds, the Mahasvara tribulation will descend. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The carefree heavenly tribulation has officially begun. An invisible law fell on Gu Qingshan from the void of space. In a split second, Gu Qingshan disappeared from the ship. Chapter 1186. What's this turtle shell used for? It can be used for divination, or as a defensive treasure tool. How many spirit stones? 100,000. It's yours. That's too expensive. Your turtle shell can only be used for divination. We're both people of status here. Who would use a turtle shell for defense? 95,000, no less. 93,000 at most. I'll buy a deal. The two cultivators exchanged the turtle shell and spirit stones, both happy. Gu Qingshan looked at this thoughtfully. He just arrived not too long ago. The surroundings were a boiling cauldron of voices and cultivators haggling over prices everywhere. It was extremely lively. So, the Mahasvara King realm tribulation is for business? As Gu Qingshan's gaze swept through the entire open-air market, his expression turned serious. In this market in the middle of nowhere, every cultivator here was a Yama King realm peak cultivator, each of them exuding spirit energy waves of the same level. In other words, everyone here was a Yama King realm cultivator who came to face their tribulation. A Yama King realm cultivator could already be considered a decent cultivation. No wonder the man just now said, "We're both people of status here," when haggling. Gu Qingshan slowly walked through the market. No one paid any attention to him. Occasionally, a few female cultivators would look at him, but it was only a glance. After all, his face had been slightly modified by the superdimensional weapon to become a lot more handsome. In the words of the superdimensional weapon, his current appearance was more feminine and feminine, easily attracting the attention of women. This was a completely different style from how Gu Qingshan originally looked. Even the tone of his voice changed slightly. At the time, to avoid being recognized by the enemy, Gu Qingshan agreed to the plastic surgery. As Gu Shan walked around the market, he suddenly had a thought. None of these cultivators were from the 900 million world layers of the void. According to the concept of the world, the space vortex was actually a barrier outside of the world, while these people came from the real world. Gu Shan suddenly stopped. He had a deep understanding of one thing. Cultivators were able to interact with people from different parallel worlds. Due to the existence of the tribulation, they were able to surpass space-time and meet each other from different worlds. For example, the Yama Heavenly Tribulation. Another example was the current Mahasvara King Tribulation. So what exactly was the Heavenly Tribulation this time? Wasn't it supposed to be linked with the Sumeru Mountain Tribulation? Gu Shan's expression did not change. She just walked aimlessly in the market, occasionally glancing at the stalls. There were people selling talismans, weapons and armors, pill furnaces and pills, spirit herbs and immortal fruits, food ingredients, and Tao techniques. It was truly dazzling. The cultivators coming and going almost blocked the road. Sometimes it was inevitable that they would get too close to each other. In order to prevent the other party from making the wrong judgment, everyone would release their spiritual power shields and gently touch each other's spiritual power shields. Then, they would borrow the force to move away. It was a scene of modesty and harmony. Gu Shan nodded slightly. This was actually understandable. After all, their realms were similar, and they didn't know each other. If they really fought, no one would know who would win. Gu Shan stopped in front of stall. "Fellow Taoist, what kind of information would you like to see?" the cultivator asked. "Heaven's tribulation," Gu Shan replied. The cultivator chuckled and said, "At our level, we naturally know that the information regarding every heaven's tribulation is extremely confidential. We can't simply talk about it." Gu Shan didn't know anything. "How much are you selling it here?" he asked with an impatient expression on his face, then glanced at another stall selling jade tags. The cultivator didn't put on any airs and held up a jade tag with 2 fingers. Information regarding this time's Mahasvara King Tribulation, 10,000 spirit stones, 10,000. Gu Shan appeared surprised and asked, "Why don't you just rob a bank?" After walking around just now, he already knew the value of this piece of information. The cultivator showed the jade tag in front of Gu Shan and sincerely said, "This is a special edition. I have more information than anyone else." He silently sent his voice. "I have information regarding the Sumeru Mountain Tribulation here. This alone is worth 6,000 spirit stones. Is that so? You're not lying?" Gu Shan doubtfully asked. The cultivator patted his chest. "I guarantee that it's original content. All of it is a collection that can only be read with a fee. It's definitely not a copy of someone else's work. If you don't believe me, you can buy it and see if you think it's worth it." Gu Shan lightly nodded. If the other party said that, he felt that this piece of information was worth it. "Deal." Gu Shan paid the spirit stones. The spirit stones he had were the same as the pocket money Shifu gave him back at Baihua sect, as well as the monthly allowance he received from Baron Cloud Heavenly Palace. In truth, he had been keeping these spirit stones for a very long time, as he hadn't used this currency for a very long time. Fortunately, spirit stones seemed to be universal in every cultivation world. After receiving the spirit stones, the cultivator quickly gave him the jade tag. The cultivator received the spirit stones, gave him the jade tag, and said, "You can read it here. I guarantee you won't lose anything." Gu Shan smiled. So confident, he stood still and infused his inner sight into the jade tag. A large amount of information appeared in his thought sea. This was Heaven Pillar World. This was where the Mahasvara King Realm Tribulation and Sumeru Lord Realm Tribulation would begin. The Mahasvara King Realm Tribulation would begin once every 1,000 years. All cultivators who faced this heaven tribulation within 1,000 years would be able to bypass the limit of space-time and directly appear in Heaven Pillar World. Gu Shan's current location was in the wilderness, not too far away from the main city of Heaven Pillar World. All cultivators who faced the Mahasvara King Realm Tribulation had to go to the main city of Heaven Pillar World and wait for a cultivator to face their Sumeru Lord Realm Tribulation. The cultivators would become that cultivator subordinates, be led and escorted to the summit of Sumru Lord Realm, where they would face their Sumru Lord Realm tribulation. Once that cultivator successfully faced their tribulation and became a true Sumru Lord Realm cultivator, the other cultivators who successfully escorted him to the summit of Sumru Lord Realm would also complete their Mahesvara King Realm tribulation. They would become Mahesvara King or Realm cultivators, which means this was indeed a combination of the Mahesvara King Realm tribulation and the Sumru Lord Realm tribulation. This was actually the most dangerous tribulation a cultivator had ever faced in their cultivation lives. And there was an even more serious problem. The Heaven Pillar connecting Heaven Pillar World and Sumru Lord Realm had been broken. The various tribulations on the way had become even more unpredictable and unpredictable. There had already been 5 cultivators who faced their Sumru Lord Realm tribulation in a row, only to die while climbing Sumru Lord Realm. The cultivators who escorted him were also mostly dead. In just a cup of tea's worth of time, Gu Qingshan had finished reading through the relevant detailed information. His heart was heavy, but his expression was calm as he nodded and told the cultivator, "Your information is indeed worth this price." The cultivator then smiled and loudly declared, "Indeed, our business has always been fair and honest. This is the only way for us to have repeat customers." Gu Qingshan released his inner sight, scanned through the bustling market, and scanned through a certain direction. Sure enough, he saw a city. Heaven Pillar City. In this city, a gigantic stone pillar reached all the way to the sky, but was cut in half by the clouds. This was the Pillar of Heaven. According to the Jade Tag, a long time ago, it was able to connect heaven and earth all the way to the summit of Sumru Lord Realm. No one knew why it was cut in half. While Gu Qingshan was looking at it, he noticed something. In the blink of an eye, the entire market abruptly disappeared. All the cultivators disappeared as well. The bustling market returned to silence. 3 swords abruptly appeared from the void of space. Without hesitation, Gu Qingshan wielded the twin swords Heaven and Earth to protect himself. All the spirit energy fluctuations disappeared. The surroundings were deathly silent. Cold wind blew across the barren land, howling shrilly. Gu Qingshan wielded the twin swords and slowly took a few steps forward. His entire being was in battle mode. What exactly happened? Gu Qingshan released his inner sight to scan his surroundings. There was nothing. Those people seemed to have evaporated in the blink of an eye. In this barren land, aside from the sand and rocks, there was nothing but wild grass on the ground. Gu Qingshan looked at the numerous footprints on the ground, as well as the marks left by the stalls on the ground, and became even more doubtful. Those cultivators were clearly here just now. Their belongings were also here. How did they suddenly disappear? Gu Qingshan's back was soaked in cold sweat. All of a sudden, he regained his senses and hurriedly reached for his inventory bag, only to find nothing. Gu Qingshan froze. His storage pouch was stolen. I'm a sword cultivator, yet someone managed to steal my inventory bag without me noticing. This person's strength is truly terrifying. If that's the case, if this person wanted to kill me, no? Gu Qingshan shook his head without any hesitation. My spirit sense couldn't detect anything at all. Even the soul shrieker wouldn't be able to kill me without me noticing. Most likely, this is some sort of ability specifically designed for theft. He stood still for a few moments, recalling everything that happened after he entered the market. Suddenly, a certain scene appeared in his mind. The cultivator who sold the information received the spirit stones and put the jade tag in his hand. If someone wanted to steal something, the only person who came into close contact with me is the cultivator who sold the information. He's the most suspicious. With that in mind, Gu Qingshan recalled something else. He scowled and muttered to himself. This feeling seems very familiar at the same time. Heaven Pillar City. Inside a luxurious palace. A certain little girl who looked like she was carved out of jade was holding Gu Qingshan's inventory bag and lightly rubbing it with her hand. The inner sight lock on the inventory bag was instantly released. The little girl began to count the spoils of war. A bunch of cooking utensils, spirit stones. Strange, why aren't there any cultivation inheritances? There are quite a few technological items, But unfortunately, they're useless in our world. The little girl's immature voice resounded one after another, then suddenly stopped. She was holding a big white brick in her hand with great difficulty. The little girl's expression became serious. Although she was serious, she only looked cute. After all, she was still too young. This is Xiao Lu's supersized jade tag. I remember he said he gave it to Gu Qing Shan. Chapter 1187. Gu Qing Shan stood in the middle of the wilderness, silently waiting. If the one who stole the inventory bag was Shifu, then as soon as Shifu finds out about the things of Baihua sect in the inventory bag, she would quickly return to find me. Just as I thought. In just 20 breaths worth of time, intense winds descended from above, sucking up all the sand on the ground and gathering them together, slowly forming the shape of a woman. Layers of light flashed as the woman's appearance became clear. She wore a white feather dress, a jade crown on her head, her appearance peerless. Her eyes carried a sense of transcendent elegance. Her eyes were as clear as the moon in an autumn pond. Xie Daoling. She tossed the large jade brick in front of Gu Qing Shan and casually asked, "Where did you get this jade tag?" Gu Qing Shan smiled. "When I first arrived at Shenwu World, I asked second brother for a few scriptures. He gave it to me. He then clasped his fist and praised, 'Shifu, now that you can manifest your true form from sand and stone, your techniques are beyond my imagination.'" Xie Dao Ling silently stared at him, then asked, "So you are Gu Qing Shan? Why do you look like this?" Gu Qing Shan then explained everything from the beginning to the end. Xie Dao Ling pondered as she listened, then slowly spoke. "What you said is flawless, but the last time I left Shenwu World to go to the Cultivation Alliance, someone pretended to be Gu Qing Shan and infiltrated our Baihua sect. Xiao Lu and the others were too relaxed and were almost killed by that person. It was fortunate that Qing Ro and Wan Er were quick-witted and managed to escape unscathed." Gu Qing Shan spoke. Then Xie Dao Ling continued. "Swordsmanship is the spirit and spirit of a sword cultivator. Humans can be faked, but swordsmanship cannot. So you need to prove to me that you are the real Gu Qing Shan." Gu Qing Shan then drew the earth sword from the void of space and sincerely spoke. "I am indebted to Shifu for taking me in, carefully teaching and protecting me. This disciple has always been grateful to you. Ever since we parted ways at the 900 Million World Layers Alliance, many things have changed. While this disciple has been wandering from place to place, I have often thought of Shifu. Today, I will prove myself with my swordsmanship. I hope that Shifu will not be stingy with your teachings." Xie Dao Ling smiled and spoke gently. "Come, let your master see how much you've improved." Gu Qing Shan cupped her fists and bowed, then suddenly disappeared. Clang! The sword manifested 1,000 layers of frost and abruptly pierced through Xie Dao Ling's chest. Xie Dao Ling's figure slowly disappeared. It was an illusory figure. Gu Qing Shan looked up, only to see Xie Dao Ling leaping into the air, her dress fluttering in the wind like a fairy descending to the mortal world. Gu Qing Shan held the heaven sword in her hand and pointed it at the sky. A dazzling light burst forth from the body of the sword, condensing into a giant sword shadow. Boom! The shadow of the sword soared, and the dust in the surroundings shook violently as if there was an earthquake. Secret art, river traversing iron sword. With Gu Qing Shan's current level of swordsmanship, he had already fully comprehended the water flow severance, secret art, and created a new, even more powerful secret art. The giant sword shadow flashed and appeared in front of Xie Dao Ling in the blink of an eye. Xie Dao Ling didn't panic and swung her sleeves. Divine skill, sleeve dimension. The giant sword shadow disappeared, unsure where Xie Dao Ling put it. Xie Dao Ling abruptly turned around and threw a punch. Gu Qing Shan just happened to appear there and wanted to attack, but Xie Dao Ling took the initiative and could only parry with her sword. Bam! The void of space shook. Gu Qing Shan was sent crashing into the ground like a cannonball. Xie Dao Ling stood with her hands clasped behind her back in the void of space, then felt an endless gust of wind. Sword wind, seems like it's a sword array. She moaned and took out a long whip. Sha-bam! The whip lashed out with a thunderous crack. The wind seemed to have been struck by this whip and scattered. There was no longer any wind in the sky. Xie Dao Ling put her whip away and slowly descended from the sky. In front of her, Gu Qingshan had just leapt out from the crater. There's no need to fight anymore. Let me ask you, do you also fight like this when you're outside? Xie Dao Ling asked. Gu Qingshan replied, when I'm outside, I naturally kill whoever I see, kill whatever I see. It was now that Xie Dao Ling glared at him and said, you're so timid in a fight, you don't look like a sword cultivator at all. It's only because your master is here that I can see your true level of swordsmanship. Through your sparring, Gu Qingshan was happy and casually replied, it's been too long since I've seen Shifu, and my swordsmanship has improved too quickly. I'm a bit afraid of accidentally hurting Shifu. The fact that Xie Dao Ling was criticizing him like that meant that she had recognized his identity. Xie Dao Ling commented, your swordsmanship has indeed surpassed the realm of Sword Saint, but what realm is it now? Gu Qingshan replied, after 1,000 swords, there's a single sword. As someone of Xie Dao Ling's caliber, she understood right away. A single sword surpasses 1,000 swords, so it's the path of being able to unleash and retract your power at will. What realm would it be after that? A single sword can turn into 100 million swords. A sword god, Gu Qingshan replied. Xie Dao Ling thought for a bit, then praised. 100 million secret swords at once, unstoppable, to be able to guess the path of swordsmanship through a single sentence. This is Xie Dao Ling. Gu Qingshan was silently impressed and smiled. From now on, I'll be in your care, Shifu. Neither of them mentioned anything about stealing the inventory bag. Xie Dao Ling observed his appearance and scowled. Qingshan, your appearance is too feminine. It doesn't look like a sword cultivator, Gu Qingshan explained. This is a type of power from the technological realm, a genetic camouflage. Even heavenly spells wouldn't be able to see through a person's original appearance. That's why I agreed to disguise myself like this. I've tried a few methods before, but I can't turn back, Xie Dao Ling nodded, then said, I want to turn you back to your original appearance. What do you think? Gu Qingshan replied, of course, no problem. I'll follow Shifu's decision. Endure it a bit. Just a bit will do, yes, Bam. Gu Qingshan was slapped on the face. He touched his face. Sure enough, he had turned back. Thank you, Shifu, he happily said. Xie Dao Ling clasped her hand behind her back and said, Xiao Lu is a disappointment. Xiao is still young. Qing Ro and Wan Er joined us later. You're the only one who has gone the farthest in Baihua sect, so make sure to never disguise as a man who looks like a woman again. Yes, Gu Qingshan replied. Xie Dao Ling continued. Compared to cultivation, I want the two of you to be upright and upright people, to always have a clear conscience at all times. Gu Qingshan nodded. I will definitely follow Shifu's example and strive to be an upright and upright sword cultivator. Xie Dao Ling was pleased. That's the style of our Baihua sect. While they were talking, a few black dots were flying towards them from afar. Xie Dao Ling immediately lost her previous imposing manner and said, Qingshan, I'll contact you later. Shifu has something to do. As soon as she said so, the light from the spell around her body completely faded away, turning back into sand and pebbles that scattered on the ground. Gu Qingshan was stunned. Shifu left too quickly. Did she receive some sort of threat? Gu Qingshan squinted his eyes and looked at the black dots flying towards them from afar. His killing intent surged as he grabbed his sword. 10 minutes later, several cultivators were searching around Gu Qingshan's surroundings. They unleashed various spells and techniques, carefully searching for any traces on the ground. Some even took to the air and used their inner sight to scan the void of space. Someone was consoling Gu Qingshan. Fellow Dao Seeker Gu, since it's come to this, you should adjust your mental state. You still have to face your tribulation. Gu Qingshan awkwardly stood there, tried to hold it in, but still whispered, Everyone, don't waste your time. That thief is too fast. We really can't find him. One of the cultivators angrily threw his weapon to the ground. He came and went without a trace. We really can't find him. Another cultivator sighed. The cultivator from before looked at Gu Qingshan and asked unwillingly, Fellow Dao Seeker Gu, Did you see that thief's face clearly? As Gu Shan was about to answer, the cultivator next to him smiled bitterly and dejectedly said, "It's useless even if he saw it clearly. That thief transformed into thousands of different forms, taking advantage of when everyone was strolling around the market square. Which one of you didn't fall for the same trick?" Everyone felt a bit dejected. That's right, these people were all Yama King realm cultivators, just like Gu Shan, cultivators who came to Heaven Pillar World to face their tribulation. It was supposed to be a tribulation, but everyone's inventory bags were stolen. Gu Shan silently sighed. Shifu is truly generous. But Shifu isn't a greedy person, so why would she take their inventory bags? While she was thinking, someone suddenly asked, "Fellow Dao Seeker Gu, I saw that you seem to be facing off against that person for a while. Could it be that you know each other?" Gu Shan replied with a stern expression. "How could that be? Go ask around. I'm the third-ranked disciple of Baihua sect. Our sect is a righteous sect that has always been open and above board. Us disciples are all righteous, stand upright, and conduct ourselves with a clear conscience at all times. We would never have anything to do with a thief like that." Seeing his indignant expression and recalling how his inventory bag had just been stolen, everyone understood his feelings, so they didn't say anything else. Indeed, if they knew each other, why would they steal Gu Shan's things? At this point, everyone suddenly sensed something and looked up at the sky, only to see 7 to 8 inventory bags falling from the sky. "My inventory bag!" someone called out. Everyone waved their hands, and the inventory bags returned to their hands. Including Gu Shan, everyone checked their inventory bags. Someone doubtfully said, "Strange, nothing is missing, but my cultivation scripture J tag seems to have been used." Chapter 1188. The Dusty World's Secret Passage. 2 men wearing Yiksha masks descended from the sky, standing on the jagged rocks of strange shapes. They looked around and quickly found the place. "Is it there?" one of them asked. "That's right. The Heavenly King had already chosen his master and told us where his true body was sealed," the other replied. The first man sighed emotionally. "Since this divine armament has returned, our Wraith realm will no longer have to worry about not winning against the abyss." The 2 of them walked to a corner and looked at the stone wall. One of them reached his hand out and pressed it on a certain part of the stone wall. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The stone wall slowly opened. The inside was empty. Tens of thousands of stone heads appeared in front of the 2 of them. These heads were angrily hovering in the air, constantly spinning. They were neatly arranged, giving off an indescribable power that made one's heart skip a beat. Suppression of 10,000 heads. Demons and deities do not come. These occultism stones were able to open up a separate space. How shocking. The 2 of them looked down at the stone heads. A pale white bough was being suppressed by the stone heads, lying motionlessly on the ground. This was one of the 2 great divine armaments of the Wraith realm, Mara's bough. This bough was the true body of the Mara Heavenly King. One of them asked in surprise, "When the Mara Heavenly King descended on our world, 80,000 cursed wraiths surrounded it. Why aren't the true bodies of those cursed wraiths here?" The other replied, "Master said that when Amara's bow is opened and closed, a wraith sigil would turn into an arrow that would definitely hit its target. Because of that, all 80,000 cursed wraiths are attached to this bow. We only need to take it away." The other man nodded in realization. "All right, let's get to work. Take out the divine armaments and arrange them according to that method. Quickly save the Heavenly King's true body." The other person stood still, as if he was trying to recall something. His companion asked in confusion, "What's the matter?" The other man sighed. "It was said that there was a mountain deity in the Huangquan realm. Unfortunately, the Huangquan realm fragment that we rule doesn't have this deity. So what if there is a mountain deity? If that deity is here, he only needs to use the Grand Tai Wei Mountain's divine armament to directly take out the Mara's bow." Oh? His companion's interest was piqued, and he asked, "That divine weapon can ignore this suppression formation of 10,000 heads?" "That's right. It's said that the Tai Wei Mountain's divine weapon can break all spells. However, this is only a rumor and has never been proven. If that's the case, then it's indeed powerful. As the two of them spoke, they slowly collected their thoughts and began to arrange a way to save the situation. They took out a dozen or so divine tools and busied themselves with constructing a formation. Time flew by. Just as they were concentrating, a figure suddenly appeared behind them. This figure came without a sound and just stood there quietly, watching the two of them. The two of them finally finished setting up the formation. They activated the formation, and with the power of more than 10 artifacts, they finally formed a weak resonance with the suppression formation of 10,000 heads. After a while, a gap appeared in the 10,000 head suppression formation. "Come," someone shouted. With a schwa sound, the pale white longbow flew out of the realm of suppression through the crack. The two of them were delighted, but then they saw that the longbow was being held by a hand. "This is the Moro Luo bow. Why isn't the artifact spirit here?" A female voice filled with curiosity rang out. No one said anything. The two wraiths stood there, unable to move. The female voice sounded again. "I had just returned from the giant of beginning's place in disappointment. Who would have thought I'd find such an unexpected harvest on the way?" The longbow turned around in her hand and disappeared. "Very well. I'll slowly think of a way to deal with the artifact spirit. In short, I'll be taking this bow." Saying so, the figure slowly flew away. The two wraiths still couldn't move at all. They stood still, their blood seeping through their skin, slowly dyeing their entire bodies red, almost like red wax puppets. Even after a long time, when the Wraith Realm's people came again, they were still standing there. The figure put the longbow away and continued forward, heading deeper into the secret passage. Soon enough, she arrived at the place where the battle took place, the Starlight Steel Fortress. She didn't immediately fly past the fortress, but instead landed on the surface of the fortress. "The smell of death, strange. Did someone come here before?" she muttered. Following her muttering, images appeared from the void of space, manifesting into images that displayed what happened in the past in front of her eyes. Su-Cher fought against the two deities. Gu Qin-Shan returned. The two worlds overlapped. Gu Qin-Shan summoned the dead and wreaked havoc in Huang Quan. The Pixie army arrived. Everyone agreed to meet again. Su-Cher infiltrated the fortress, while Gu Qin-Shan piloted the ship and left. She silently watched until the very end. All the images faded away. "So the one called Su-Cher is right beneath my feet?" Her voice resounded again without any emotions. Following that, a holy light illuminated the darkness, revealing her beautiful and pure appearance. The sacred chant angel, Frost. She looked down at the surface of the steel fortress, her eyes constantly moving. It was as if her gaze could pierce through the steel to see the situation inside the fortress. Found it. Her entire body turned into a faint shadow, pierced through the thick steel outer layer, and entered the interior of the fortress. Maintaining her faint shadow state, the sacred chant angel flew forward until she reached where Su-Cher was. It was a large transparent breeding tank. Su-Cher was curled up inside, sleeping. Her entire body was filled with tubes, while countless faint lights were constantly being absorbed into her body. The sacred chant angel observed for a while, then muttered to herself, "Technological things really are disgusting." Saying so, she reached her hand out towards Su-Cher and spoke with a malicious tone. "Gu Qin-Shan will be mine sooner or later. As for you, just disappear from this world." All of a sudden, a female voice came from behind her. "Regardless of who you are, if you dare to harm her, you'll be the one to disappear in the next second." The sacred chant angel paused. She turned around and looked at the person. "Who are you?" she asked. "Someone who can take your life," the person replied. The sacred chant angel looked at the person with a surprised gaze. She then looked at the black handgun in the other party's hand and mocked. "Just with that, you can try," the person coldly replied. Noticing the meaning in the other party's tone, the sacred chant angel didn't say anything. However, streaks of holy light appeared in all directions. They formed a total of 73 images. Each of the images showed the scene of two people fighting. In 43 of the images, the sacred chant angel and her opponent perished together. In the other 30 images, she was heavily wounded while her opponent was killed. In just a single breath's worth of time, all the images disappeared as if they were never there in the first place. The sacred chant angel casually spoke. If this fortress didn't have so many weapons that could destroy everything, you wouldn't be able to do anything to me, the person replied. But we're currently in this fortress. I can kill you at any time, the sacred chant angel coldly scoffed. You really aren't afraid of death? I don't believe you're brave enough to perish together with me. The person honestly replied, Of course I'm not, and I know you're definitely afraid of death. The sacred chant angel didn't believe him and stared at him. What makes you say that? The person replied, I have a backup. You don't. The sacred chant angel's body trembled. She had lived for countless years, so she naturally had a deep understanding of technological knowledge. So she could only remain silent. After a while, she muttered, I hate technology. The person didn't say anything and simply continued to point the gun at her. The sacred chant angel had no choice but to turn around and leave this place. Before she left, she suddenly said, Tell me your name, the person replied. Impartial goddess, the sacred chant angel shook her head. I'm not asking for your name. I want to know your name. Impartial goddess kept her mouth shut and didn't say any name in the end. Thinking she understood something, the sacred chant angel smirked mockingly and said, Coward, could it be an evil creature? Otherwise, why wouldn't you tell me your name? Saying so, she left. Impartial goddess stood still and stayed silent for a long time. Name, she muttered. The sacred chant angel didn't look back as she flew out of the fortress at full speed, raising both hands in the air. In her hand was a giant war hammer made of white light. Now that I've left the fortress, I'm no longer under her control. All of you die, she said viciously. She threw out the giant hammer and smashed it towards the steel fortress. But at the very next moment, the fortress disappeared without a trace. Such a huge fortress had actually disappeared without a trace in less than a second. It was truly inconceivable. The sacred chant angel scowled. She waved her hand. The war hammer of light turned into countless streaks of light and returned to her body. Gu Qing Shan's woman, as well as a protector who doesn't even dare to tell me his name, she thought for a bit, then muttered, No, he has the twine of cloud atlas, as well as the power of occultism. I have to use him. I can't let any other woman fool him away. Very well. I'll go find him now and combine with him. She suddenly reached her hand out. She caught a cluster of air currents from the void of space. My power was given to the giant of beginning by him. Fortunately, I still have this. This was a cluster of aura that she collected from Gu Qing Shan's body when she dispelled her curse. After a bit of hesitation, the sacred chant angel put this cluster of aura in front of herself. She reached out a finger and began to write something on the aura. After she finished, she chanted a long incantation and lightly blew on the aura. Go, no matter where he is. Using the power of occultism, this letter will appear in front of him. The aura quickly disappeared into the void of space, disappearing without a trace. The sacred chant angel silently waited. At another location, Gu Qing Shan was flying through the sky. He was following a few other cultivators who were also facing their tribulation towards Heaven Pillar City. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks. Everyone, please go first. I have something to do. I'll be right there, Gu Qing Shan called out. Remember, you must enter the city before nightfall, one of the cultivators loudly called out. Gu Qing Shan nodded. The other cultivators left first. Gu Qing Shan stood in the void of space. 3 flying swords also appeared at the same time. What's the matter? The Earth Sword asked with a resounding voice. A unique feeling, as if something that belongs to me is looking for me, Gu Qing Shan replied. Something that belongs to you? Luo Bingli asked in confusion. The Chaoyin sword also let out a curious sound. It's here, Gu Qing Shan said. The void of space began to split apart as an invisible aura rushed out. Gu Qing Shan was a bit surprised, because he noticed that this was his own aura. As the aura gathered in front of him, it manifested as sprites of light. The sprites gathered together to form a letter. The man and the three swords gathered together and looked at the letter, only to see that the letter was written in the language of heaven, basically stating that this letter was written by the sacred chant angel. She had always been grateful to Gu Qingshan for saving her life. Now that she had fully recovered and regained her power, she had nothing else to do, so she was willing to come and fight alongside Gu Qingshan. Finally, the sacred chant angel left a summoning incantation. As soon as Gu Qingshan chanted this incantation, she would be summoned by Gu Qingshan. She indicated that she was ready to fight and was waiting for Gu Qingshan's summon. Together with his three swords, Gu Qingshan finished reading the letter. The Earth Sword spoke up. That woman is very powerful, as well as one of the few people other than yourself who wields the power of occultism. Your situation is currently unpredictable. How about you summon her to help you? Gu Qingshan shook his head. No need. Luo Bingli's voice resounded from the Heaven Sword. You don't want such a good fighter? Why not? Gu Qingshan replied. I still feel like something isn't right. My spirit sense is giving off an uncomfortable feeling. Luo Bingli was in disbelief. You're rejecting her for such a vague reason? Wait a minute. Earth Sword, is that Archangel ugly? That's not it. The Earth Sword shook its blade a bit, its tone becoming ethereal. To put in a vulgar way, from her figure to her appearance, she is the dream appearance of many male humans, and also very holy. Tch Luo Bingli understood. The Heaven Sword circled around and observed Gu Qingshan in the air. You? Is there something wrong with you? If you're sick, you can't drag it out, Luo Bingli said caringly. I'm not sick, Gu Qingshan resolutely replied. There's no need to talk about this anymore. I've always felt that she was giving off a strange aura. I trust my instincts, then why aren't you responding to anything? I'm not responding, Luo Bingli worriedly said. She's still waiting for you to summon her. If you do that, you might offend her, the Earth Sword also said. She's a very powerful woman. If you don't summon her and you meet again in the future, how are you going to explain it to her? Gu Qingshan looked at the letter in her hand, thought for a bit, then answered, I can't read. Chapter 1189. You must enter the city before nightfall. Before those cultivators left, they solemnly told Gu Qingshan this. Gu Qingshan put the letter away and looked up at the sky. Night was about to fall. Gu Qingshan sped up. There's still enough time. There's no need to expose a divine skill like ground shrink. He flew under the low gray clouds, through the cold wind, and passed through large areas of ruined cities. At a certain point, rain began to fall, slowly turning into a torrential downpour. On the plains, a large number of ruined buildings were bathed in the rain. After observing for a while, Gu Qingshan noticed that these buildings were all made from extremely sturdy materials. Some of them even gave off unique energy fluctuations. Perhaps it was because of this that even after countless years of being exposed to the elements, they still maintained their original state when they were first destroyed. However, what exactly was it that destroyed these cities? A large-scale war? A natural disaster? Or something else? Gu Qingshan carefully observed the ruins. Almost all of the roofs had been lifted off. Various items were scattered all over the ground. Some of the items here seemed to be more attractive than others, as there were signs of people organizing and selecting them. This must be the work of someone who came later, since so much time had passed, and the entire site was destroyed by people who came later. Many traces of what happened back then were already gone. Under such circumstances, Gu Qingshan couldn't come to a conclusion. Hey! All of a sudden, a voice resounded in his thoughts. See, Gu Qingshan was startled and stopped in midair, asking, Who is it? It's me. A young man was flying towards him from afar. Gu Qingshan looked at his appearance, then at the turtle shell on his back, and exclaimed in shock, Young tortoise, why are you here? Indeed, this young man was one of the 4 divine beasts of Barren Cloud Heavenly Palace, the spirit tortoise. Young Tortoise flew in front of him and said, Your Sherfu left in a hurry and forgot to tell you something, so she sent me here to deliver a message. What is it? You must enter the city before nightfall. Ah, I see. But why is young Master Turtle here? Young Turtle replied, wasn't it because you obtained the twin swords, heaven and earth in the end? My mission was completed, and it just so happened that your Shifu went to the primordial heaven realm again. So I followed her back to your world, Gu Qingshan said. Now that you're following my Shifu, are you here to help her transcend the tribulation? Exactly, young Tortoise said. At this time, the rain became even heavier. Everything within a few meters was covered in mist. It was a vast expanse of whiteness, and nothing could be seen clearly. The sky darkened further. Young Tortoise urged, let's talk on away. We can't delay any longer. All right. The two of them flew towards Heaven Pillar City. Is my Shifu facing the Mahesvara King, Realm Tribulation, or the Sumeru Lord, Realm Tribulation? Gu Qingshan asked while flying. Didn't you see her? The Spirit Turtle asked. Gu Qingshan explained, no, she's using a spell clone. I can't judge her strength. Ah, is that so? She came here to face the Sumeru Lord Realm Tribulation. The Spirit Turtle lowered its voice and continued. Your Shifu seemed to have run into some sort of unique encounter, so she insisted on coming here to face the Sumeru Lord Realm Tribulation. Her disciples, and I couldn't stop her no matter how much we tried. Gu Qingshan was confused and couldn't help but ask, don't all cultivators have to face their tribulation? If she wants to advance, she naturally has to come here to face her tribulation. Why are you stopping her? The Spirit Turtle glanced at him and explained, your Shifu refined a golden lotus into a golden light and fused it into her thought sea. From then on, whenever she wants to advance, she can directly break through without facing a tribulation. No need to face a tribulation. Directly break through? Gu Qingshan thought he heard wrong, so he asked again. The Spirit Turtle nodded. Gu Qingshan was shocked. When Xie Dao Ling was born, she was accompanied by a golden lotus that stole the fortune of heaven and earth, causing the divine race to be wary of her and place a vicious curse on her. Xie Gu Hong tried everything he could think of to seal her inside an ice crystal and make her sleep, only waking her up after the curse was lifted. This was what Gu Qingshan knew. He knew that his Shifu must be very special and would become very powerful in the future. But he didn't think that his Shifu would be able to break through without facing a tribulation. Gu Qingshan hurriedly asked, then why did my Shifu come here to face her tribulation? The Spirit Turtle sighed and replied, it was for Shenwu World. After all, there aren't any good scriptures or scriptures in Shenwu World that would allow cultivators to cultivate all the way to Yama King Realm and above. Then why did my Shifu dash? She had a few scriptures, but they seemed to only be suitable for her to cultivate. That's why she came here, wanting to obtain a few scriptures or scriptures from cultivators of other worlds to help the living beings of Shenwu World quickly grow stronger. Gu Qingshan nodded as he listened. At this point, a gigantic black shadow appeared from the misty rain in front of them. They had finally arrived at Heaven Pillar City. The two of them flew up the city wall and landed. The Spirit Turtle sighed in relief. The other cultivators were already waiting for them here. It's good that you made it here before nightfall, one of them said with a relieved tone. The others also nodded, apparently relieved of their worries. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised and clasped his fist. Fellow Dao Seekers, have you been waiting here for us? A male cultivator replied. That's right, the Mahesvara King Realm Tribulation isn't just a normal level of danger. The more people there are, the more I feel at ease. The female cultivator next to him seemed to be his Dao companion. So she followed up, if there aren't enough people, I'd rather retreat a realm and go back to cultivate for a few hundred years. A monk spoke. Ba, according to our world's records, to successfully reach the summit of Mount Sumeru, the more people there are, the more likely it is to succeed. Gu Qingshan looked at the other people's expressions and saw that they also had a look of agreement, so she understood. These people were waiting for him here to see if he had made it here safely or not. They were counting the number of people. Gu Qingshan tried asking, that person who went through our inventory bags, isn't he one of us? The main reason why she asked this was because she was afraid that Shifu would be found out in the future, so she wanted to test everyone's reaction first. Gu Qingshan could understand Shifu's difficulties, and he would definitely stand on Shifu's side in this matter. The cultivators exchanged glances, all a bit hesitant. That thief didn't steal anything. He only went through everyone's scripture jade tags. However, I've checked my scripture jade tag, a cultivator said. According to the residual fluctuations of the technique on the jade tag, I found that a copy of the jade tag was made. Mine as well. Someone else made a copy. To steal this humble one's unique scripture, this humble one will never forgive this person, another coldly scoffed. Another person said, I don't mind taking some spirit stones, but scriptures are the foundation of us cultivators. If that person dared to steal my scripture, I will definitely not cooperate with him. That's right. That's right. The cultivators all echoed in agreement. The crowd was furious. Gu Qingshan shook her head, exchanged glances with the spirit tortoise, and prepared to leave. At this point, a cultivator suddenly laughed and pridefully said, This humble one's scripture is the most precious one in the sect. I have to spend a lot of time studying it every day. So I've been prepared for it. That person didn't manage to steal it, huh? You didn't put the jade tag in your inventory bag? Another cultivator asked. The cultivator said, Please take a look. Everyone followed his gaze. Layers of runes and formations appeared from the void of space above his head. Amidst the densely packed arrays, a single jade slip floated back and forth by itself. The cultivator said, With so many formations around, even if I wanted to take it out myself, it would take quite a bit of effort, and that thief wouldn't be able to take advantage of me while I'm unprepared. Furthermore, as long as these formations are affected in the slightest, the jade tag will be transported back to our world and appear in the sect's scripture pavilion. So even if I die, there won't be any issues with the scripture jade tag. The cultivator was a bit prideful and smiled. This is a foolproof method. No matter what that thief does, he wouldn't be able to steal my scripture. Hearing that, the cultivators all thought about it and found that there really wasn't any other way. That's a good method, hiding in the void of space, protected by formations, but not taking it yourself. What a wondrous idea. Aha! That thief is definitely going to lose this time. Serves that thief right for wasting his time. He didn't get anything from you, fellow Taoist. How satisfying. The cultivators all praised and laughed. If I catch that thief next time, I will definitely torture him to relieve the anger in my heart. Indeed, that's how it should be. Kill the man, the woman. Let's show her how strong we are. That's right. Gu Qingshan silently listened and squinted her eyes. I can understand that you're in a bad mood after your scripture was copied. But you insulted my Shifu right in front of me. Then, young tortoise, let's go. Gu Qingshan told the spirit tortoise. Yes, the two of them moved and flew towards the city. Not even a cup of tea's worth of time later, they had already landed in the city, entered a palace, and stood in front of Siet Daoling. Shifu, why did you become smaller? Gu Qingshan was surprised. Siet Daoling's real body was naturally still the same 7 to 8-year-old appearance. It's just a spell. It's quite useful to me, so I haven't dispelled it yet, she replied. At this point, a commotion could be heard from the city wall, echoing throughout the entire city. The spirit tortoise couldn't help but say, Strange, when we just left, they were still fine. Why are they making a ruckus now? Because of this, Gu Qingshan casually replied. He put his hand forward. A jade tag appeared in his hand. Gu Qingshan infused her inner sight into it and memorized its contents. Sure enough, it's a decent scripture. He lightly tossed the jade tag and let it fly in front of Siet Daoling. Shifu, the scripture on this jade tag seems to be quite unusual. I still have something to do later on, so I won't be able to return to Shenwu World. Please take it back to the sect. Shifu, Gu Qingshan said. Siet Daoling received the jade tag, glanced through it, and smiled. Indeed, this scripture contains elemental spells, secret arts, blades, swords, staffs, thaumaturgies, etc. It's very useful to our world. She put the jade tag away. The spirit tortoise's eyes were staring closely at the jade tag, recognizing it to be the item from that person just now. He couldn't help but ask, Guqing Shan, how did you get this jade tag? Guqing Shan cleared her throat and replied, there are treasures in the world, and I'm good at borrowing them. Xiet Dao Ling's eyes lit up, repeated those words in a low voice, then slapped the chair. That's a good way to put it. Dao comes from the world itself, and the things of the world are naturally for those who are good at borrowing them, not from others, but from the world itself. That's right, that's right. Sure Fu is right. Guqing Shan praised. The spirit tortoise looked at Xie Dao Ling, then at Guqing Shan. This pair of master and disciple are both skilled at stealing things, and their words are also quite ostentatious. Speaking of which, isn't Bai Hua sect an inherited sect of Barren Cloud Heavenly Palace? This is a famous righteous sect that's been around for over 10,000 years. That's just an honorable. Like hell I'll believe you. The spirit tortoise silently sighed and spoke. You Bai Hua sect disciples are truly evil, that you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.